All right, Kingkillers, we're covering chapters 15 through 19 in this episode. We start off with Elodin's milkweed seed class, then Kvothe broods in the archives after seeing Denna get hot and heavy with Ambrose. We also get Old Cob and his crew toasting Shep, and the boys teach Denna some magic. Plus, you'll hear about which master is running a hot yoga class behind the scenes, our favorite drinking games, and Denna's very peculiar piece of glammourie. So sit back and enjoy.
I got a scope zoomed in on the sniper in the trees. I'ma surround if the devil wanna flee. I got a scope zoomed in on the sniper in the trees.
Welcome back, killers, to the foremost killer broadcast, Kingkiller podcast. Tonight, my co-host, Danny McBride and Timmy McVeigh. Wow. Really surprised to have you both on here together. How you doing, guys?
I'm doing well. I like Danny McBride. Timothy McVeigh, not as much. Not as much.
Hey, man.
I thought you were, Timmy, I thought you were dead.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's where I fooled everybody.
Well, you know what? I've always admired a man with convictions.
Yeah, even as disgusting as they can be.
No, I mean like he was convicted for murdering a bunch of kids. So.
Oh,
well, were there a bunch of kids? I don't remember there being a bunch of kids in that
double
building.
entendre.
There were a bunch of kids. Yeah, that's where it got pretty bad. That's where it looked pretty bad for old Timothy.
Why were there a bunch of kids in a fucking federal office building?
I think he went with the
daycare.
You go he waited for bring your fucking child to work day.
He didn't seem too wise. I think he went with the break when you're making an omelet, break some eggs defense, which probably didn't hold up too well. Yeah, but that's a good question. Why were there a shitload of kids in a fucking government building?
What are you gonna do? Shit happens.
Jesus.
Well,
it's Fitz's fault.
Well, here we are.
He brought up Timothy McVeigh. So,
what? Wait a minute. You didn't tell everybody that you guys pick these names for yourselves every week?
Nope.
Definitely.
Let it be known. Let it be known. You heard Dan. He loves Danny McBride. You heard Tim. I love Tim McVeigh.
Double Dong Dan. Yeah, that was Dan's. Bukkake Buddhist. I chose that one.
Hey. I just read what's on the paper, guys.
Apparently.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, chapter 15 is called Interesting Fact. In this chapter, we're in Elodin's class, and the students share interesting facts that they've discovered in the archives. Fella's fact about formerly blind ball fondlers wins her a pot of milkweed seeds that Elodin attempts to retrieve for the remainder of the class. And afterwards, Kvothe goes to lunch, then the Medica, and then in search of Denna. Lamentably, he finds her coming out of Ambrose's carriage. It sucks, guys.
Yeah, I like how it starts with Elodin coming in an hour late. His clothes are covered in grass stains. He's got dried leaves tangled in his hair, and he's just got a big grin on his face as he comes walking in. Like I cannot wait to see the either movie or TV show adaptation of him. Like if they do him right, it's gonna be so fucking good. Like, he's such a great character.
At one point, he tries to strike a like a philosophical pose where he puts one finger up and tries to say something smart with leaves falling out of his hair and stuff. Pretty classic Elodin.
Yeah, and I like already kids are dropping out of the class because he's such a jackass, and then he comes in with now tell me things. This was the newest way to waste our time. At the beginning of every lecture, he demanded an interesting fact he had never heard before, and he alone determines what's interesting. But
I like it. I like that.
Yeah, and I think when I try to think what would practical reason for it. I think it's to kind of open your mind to how strange and wild the world is. Like, I mean, like looking for interesting facts about the world. You're not looking for just the normal everyday stuff. You're looking for the weird and the wild shit. And I think that's what he's kind of training people's mind to perceive the world differently than they currently do. And so I think that's probably the practical reason behind it. But, for Kvothe, who's not looking at things in that way, he doesn't realize there's any kind of method to the madness. He's just like, what the fuck are we doing? You're just having us look shit random facts up that we tell you, and you just say whether they're interesting or not. This is fucking stupid.
So, speaking of that, jumping ahead a little bit, but when Kvothe is expressing his anger and Elodin says, you have something better to do? And Kvothe says, yeah, like finding the name of the wind. I'm not sure if anybody caught it. I'm sure some people did, but Elodin says right after that he gives fella the milkweed pod and says, let's open it and see. Let's give Kvothe what he asks for. Like maybe Elodin is portraying the name of the wind with the milkweed seeds.
Well, like I've said before about that aspect of it, is I think what he's demonstrating is that in order to learn names, you can't just like go mad dashing for it, scrambling for it, trying very hard to get it, to learn it. Like the more you reach for it and you grab for it, the more impossible it becomes to get. But then once he stumbles and hurts himself, and then he's just got that flash of anger, that's when one of the milk seeds come to him. And that's similar to Kvothe with the name of the wind. He didn't learn the name of the wind like by reading books or going out in the world looking for it. It was in a moment of intense anger that he just spoke it. It just came to him. And so I think that's, in his absurd way, I think that's what he was demonstrating to the class, is that you're not going to be able to just go out and force your way into knowing this thing. It's gonna have to come to you.
But having been, the whole production of it, going on for, what's he say, like 15 minutes or so, he did it on purpose, right? I mean, the whole thing was orchestrated.
I think so.
It seemed to me that he came in, and this is one of the circumstances where he actually, it seems like a rare circumstance where he actually came in with a lesson plan.
Yeah.
This was his plan, was to do this, orchestration or this illustration of his point. And like everything else, like Dan was saying, Kvothe just doesn't get it. It's all passing right by him. He wants it to like bludgeon him over the head. He wants it like obvious and easy to understand. And what Elodin's trying to do is to show him and articulate it through. I like that too about what Dan was saying there about the point of coming in with these strange and weird ideas. It makes the world bigger, and it's also, these are kind of in a way they're not tangible, I guess you could say, and that's a big part of what Elodin's trying to teach, is that this shit naming's not tangible. It's something that you have to like allow. It's the sleeping mind, which we get into. But the part that we kind of skipped over that I thought was so great is this Uresh kid, who seems to be like a math guy, and he comes up with his teach me something or tell me things. His is, you can divide infinity an infinite number of times, and the resulting pieces will still be infinitely large. But if you divide a non-infinite number an infinite number of times, the resulting pieces are non-infinitely small. Since they are non-infinitely small, but there are an infinite number of them, if you add them back together, their sum is infinite. This implies any number is in fact infinite. And I love Elodin's just like, wow, your next assignment is to have sex.
Yeah. It's fucking
if you do not know how to do this, see me after class.
Yeah.
It's fucking fantastic, man.
Yeah.
Because it's an interesting thing, but it's also interesting on like strictly an intellectual level.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, or not strictly, but just on that sort of scientific mathematical level, which obviously that's not what Elodin's looking for.
Yeah, he
But yeah,
basically just did the like nerd.
Yeah, he did. He straight up, he straight up did, and also challenging him. Yeah, it's so great. I'd like to see Uresh's face. They didn't talk about it because it just immediately went on to something else. It was so funny, man.
Yeah, and I like too with when Fenton was going through his list. And he's first one. He's like, the whatever the saltwater river runs inland from the Sintha Sea. And Elodin's like, I already know about that. And then he looks down at his piece of paper. Emperor Ventorin once passed a law. Boring. Great. And then finally gives him the third one.
Yeah, I love that, like, his approach, man. It's just, the character's hilarious. I also love, like, so in this scene, you also see, like, Fella's got a little backbone where Elodin tries to just kind of shut her up. But actually before that, which I thought was hilarious, is Anissa says there's a type of dog in Syria that gives birth through a vestigial penis. And Elodin's like, wow, okay, yeah, that one, that'll work. After he tried to give a couple that he's like, what? Like, actually, there's some introductions to things we haven't heard. We've heard a little bit about, but not too much.
Well, the way it's funny that's the way you interpret it, as him going like, wow, okay, yeah. Like the way it's read in the Audible, he's like, wow, okay, yeah.
Well, so first he does the Ilish people. He talks about, or Anissa, if that's a woman, I'm not sure. The Ilish people never developed a written language, and Elodin's like, not true. And then they talk about the knots. So we're getting some world building through this lesson. We get a little bit more in a minute too. But I like when Fella comes in and she talks about 80 years back, the Medica discovered how to remove cataracts from the eyes, and Elodin's like, yeah, I already know that. And then she's like, let me finish. When they figured out how to do it, it meant that they could still, blah, blah, blah. And then she goes on. But I kind of like that she checked him. Because, it just makes Fella's an interesting character because she's talked about as being so attractive. And, she has these abilities. Like, she knows, I don't know if we know yet. I think we know by this point she knows the name of Stone.
Yeah,
she's on it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And Elodin's been teaching her in exchange for like her making stuff for him. But she seems to be more willing to accept his training without like questioning it so much. She just accepts it. She doesn't get what the fuck he's doing, but she trusts him and goes along with it. And that obviously it works for her.
Hey Dan,
which she's very different
she's making
from
stuff?
Kvothe in that manner. What?
She's making things for him. What did you say?
Yeah, like there's when they're in line at one point, she's like he had been. I can't remember. There's one scene, and it's probably in The Name of the Wind when they're talking, and they're like
casseroles.
He's teaching her naming, and she's making him like stuff from the, pottery or metal objects or something. Whatever she does at the fishery, she's making him stuff. I can't remember what it was. There's nothing to it other than
I think it's like cookies, brownies, casserole, stuff like that, right?
Oh, he said it's from the fishery. It's obviously gefilte fish.
Oh, it's like fish pie.
Fish pie.
Dan loves fish pie. It's like his favorite thing.
No, she's making him pot brownies.
I do like how she went into, so what she talks about is they figured out how to give sight to people who had been born blind. And what was interesting is, as she continues, after they could see, they were shown objects, a ball, a cube, and a pyramid, still all sitting on a table. And then the physicers asked them which one of the three objects was round. And then she says they couldn't tell just by looking at them, they needed to touch them. And then one after another, they realized which one was the round one, which is pretty interesting to consider.
Yeah, I wonder like if you put a man and a woman, and you had them stand there naked, if they could pick out which is which, or if they'd have to give a little test run on the old genitalia.
The equipment.
Bump uglies.
You gotta
have to do it live.
Fucking juggle them around, like juggle the balls and the boobs figure out which one is which.
Well, I'll tell you this: if it was me, I would at least pretend. I'm gonna have to get a feel on those. Honk honk. Yep, I know what those are now.
Juggle them, get a feel on them balls, juggle them around.
No, you don't honk balls.
This is very mature. But yeah, that does win her the winner of the round, which was pretty great because it brought us in where Kvothe gets checked, and I like how Elodin literally is just like, yeah, Kvothe sucks at this. Like you say, we don't need to hear from him. He's terrible at this. But we're layering into where this book's going to go with the 8M mercenaries having a secret art called the Lethani, and then Elodin's like, really? Well, what is it? I don't know. Yeah. All right, that's not interesting. It's not a fact. It's like, so that didn't work. And then he's like, what else? Or he just looks at him like expecting something else. And then Kvothe has nothing. So he's like, see, he's crap. Terrible. This dude sucks.
He's not even trying really. Like he's like, I don't know. Like he came up with one thing and then was like, the rest, his focus is on the Chandrian. He doesn't take this shit seriously. He doesn't get the purpose in it. And that's why Fella seems to take it seriously and she's trying. And it's, I think that's why she was successful and he wasn't.
Well, I mean, also it's interesting for Kvothe because it's not like he doesn't have interesting things in his mind. He certainly does. He's had all kinds of interesting experiences. But he seems to put himself into a box when he's with Elodin because he doesn't understand what he's looking for. And because of that, he's just like, he's more frustrated. So because of his frustration, he just doesn't even, like you said, it's like he's not trying. He just doesn't bother to participate. Plus he did going out and getting those books and then reading them all and having to read garbage and then didn't get to use that at all. And he's probably still pissy about it.
You know what though? The books that he is reading are pretty interesting. I mean, the stuff that we're learning about Fey creatures, I feel like he could bring some of that stuff to class.
Do what now?
Well,
I was more talking about like the ones he had to read when he came to the class.
Yeah.
Like he had to read some guy's, one of them was like some crazy person's journal that didn't make any sense really. So like, I mean, it's a big waste of time when you're reading all this to try to be prepared. And then, again, missing the point that the whole point was look at this world that exists in the archives and now you know how to navigate it. He didn't care. You spent all that time reading those books instead of just finding them. If Elodin was being more, more clear with like, hey, you don't have to read them. Although he did kind of say, I don't give a shit. I've never read them. So it kind of gave the impression like that's not the important thing. But
his instructions were just to read one, but Kvothe's, fortitude was like, I'm reading all these books. And so he did.
I'm going to blow his nips off with all this knowledge I got.
Yeah, and, as if like Elodin's going to come in and lecture about each book they read and the importance of it when he hasn't read them himself. Like that should have clued you in that that's not where this is going. It's like he's not going to be asking you about these books if he's never even read them.
Yeah, and my point was that he's going into the archives like spending all of his time reading, trying to find stuff about the Chandrian. He's finding some pretty interesting stuff.
He is doing a shit ton of... Well, actually, he's about to do a shit ton of reading where he really, really locks in once he sees Denna.
Oh, but yeah, after Denna and Ambrose, that's right.
Yeah, and he doesn't pick up too many big... there's not a lot of knowledge you gain about the Chandrian through the books that he's reading. It's mostly stuff I think everybody would know. There's not a lot to it. I think like the more that whatever the outside script around the book of one of them, I think that's probably there's something there. But as far as like the information in the books, none of it's really that relevatory to anything we've read.
Yeah, no, not relevant, but it's like for me, some of my favorite books are like the Strange Stories and the WTF books, like just random interesting facts. I really enjoy it. That's why this part of Elodin's class seems like it would be really interesting.
Yeah, I mean, if he wanted to, that's what he should have been using those those children's book to come up with interesting facts on all the other monsters of the world. And been dropping those out there.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah, but he's kind of missing the point, and he's not even enjoying the information he's getting either. Which, because again, it's like he's got blinders on when he's in here. Which
like the only really fun part of any of his classes is finally come up, and he's just sitting there pissed off because he hasn't learned the name of the wind.
Yeah, and I like how it ends after Elodin limps out of the lecture hall. I like the mention of after he bangs his knee, and he's like he shouted and snarled and spat. He moved through at least 8 languages, and even when I couldn't understand the words he used, the sound of it made my gut clench and the hair on my arm stand up. He said things that made me sweat. He said things that made me sick. He said things I didn't know it was possible to say. I expect this might have continued, but while drawing an angry breath, he sucked one of the floating milkweed seeds into his mouth and began to cough and choke violently. Eventually, he spat out the seed, caught his breath, got to his feet, and limped out of the lecture hall without saying another word. This was not a particularly odd day's class under Master Elodin.
Yeah, I love that that power, obviously, that he has, and just also speaking. Yeah, I mean, it says a lot. Every time, it seems like every time he speaks, because every time a lot of times he speaks when Kvothe's on the horns, and it's like the whole room feels it, and everybody shuts the fuck up, and it's like he's got power, obviously, in his voice, and if he's just going on a tirade of all these verbal, curses and everything, and it literally makes somebody sweat and sick. It's pretty wild.
Yeah, and you get a subtle hint of what Elodin is. Obviously, we know Elodin's main focus is naming and actual magic and shit, but along with that, it's you get he moved through at least 8 languages, and said words I didn't even know what they meant, and that makes sense for Elodin that he's not reading a bunch of stupid books, but he's learning 8 languages at least. And so that's fucking impressive. And that's he's a different type of scholar. His scholarship is magic, but he's not just somebody who doesn't care about that shit. He's just hyper focused on one particular aspect of scholarship, where learning languages and naming and words and that kind of stuff is what's important to him, not, chemistry and alchemy.
It's interesting the parts that we got early on too from book 1, where he talks about how it used to be, and it seems like he's a traditionalist in a sense as well, which is it seems odd because he's an odd character, you know what I mean? To be a traditionalist along with to not fit in, socially, it's kind of an odd combination to put together.
Yeah, I mean, it seems though like that tradition of naming and stuff was probably a long time ago that none of these masters were around for.
But it sounds like it's something that he is, he's searching for, and he's trying to recreate and he has a respect for it. While it seems like the way he described it, it's like what the university now is a shell of what it once was.
Yeah,
and it was a lot smaller when it was smaller, and the smaller it was, the more powerful it was, and the more the more powerful and learned the individuals were. Now he kind of made it seem like what they do now is almost petty, which is funny when you think about it. When the 3 of them go into Ambrose's rooms, you're like, well, 3 people that know sympathy could do a lot of shit. Working together, they could get a lot of shit done on people in just regular towns. They could run through and come out with the gold from the bank or whatever.
Yeah.
Doesn't when in the same conversation when Elodin is speaking of the old ways of the university, doesn't he say that the original concept was to learn naming? Like the whole idea was
like the center of it, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah. The main focus was on big magic rather than all the chemistry and alchemy and all that kind of stuff. It was learning names. Like if you didn't have at least some names under your belt, you weren't an arcanist. You weren't, you weren't like highly looked at. You weren't part of the gentry, basically. I mean, you were a low class type of person, whereas people who knew a lot of names were the ones that were respected. And now there's almost nobody that knows a lot of names. It seems like Elodin is one of the only people who knows, one of the handful of people that knows multiple names.
Yeah, and speaking of that, when he was going on his tirade, I kind of got the sense that there was something more to what Elodin was saying by the way that Kvothe was picking up on it and getting, like you said, physically sick. And I kind of took that as maybe Elodin was saying things that nobody knew what he was saying, not just different languages, but maybe, saying the name of nausea or I don't know. That's what I thought. That maybe he was doing something with his words that would actually inflict feelings onto the people in the class so that they know that he had that power with the names.
It seemed like, I think there could be a piece of that. It didn't seem like he's doing it intentionally. It seemed like he was literally just in pain. And when people are in pain, that's the natural reaction is fuck the world right now. You stub your toe and you're like, I will murder everything around me in this moment. And then it passes and you're fine. But in that moment, you're like, everything be damned.
Yeah, I couldn't decide if he was actually like that. That crossed my mind too. Like he could actually be in pain, but also I was like, is he doing this on purpose? Like, did he get hurt on purpose? Is it all part of it? It's hard to tell.
I think it's almost like there's a fine line. With his lesson in itself, it seemed like he committed. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like he committed to the milkweed pod thing. He committed like an actor like that's really talented. He's like, this is my thing. This is what I'm doing. He fully commits. And he goes for it. Like he fucking went fucking crazy, running around the room doing all that shit. Yeah. It didn't have to go that nuts, but if he wants to really illustrate his point, that's the best way to do it. So yeah, it's like he's a committed actor and he went through with it, but then he literally causes himself pain. So I think part of that is like he lives in his sleeping mind as well. Once he commits, he's like, all right, this is what I'm going into. Then maybe his sleeping mind in a way is taking over and he forgets he doesn't need to take it this seriously. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I tend to think he did it all on purpose because it so closely mirrors like Kvothe's experience with the Name of the Wind. That he doesn't find it when he, he doesn't find it when he's going looking for it. It's comes in intense moments where, his emotions are running high is when he starts to find it. But like when he's like just going to the class and all this kind of stuff, he's not getting anything. He's not seeing it. And I think that's where Elodin's, between the frantically grabbing around, because otherwise it's like, what was he actually trying to grab a milkweed seed? Like, I mean, so I think he's clearly showing like, if you're trying to grab this stuff, you're not going to get it. And then the fact that when he does hurt himself and he gets all angry, that's when one pops in his mouth and he actually catches one. I think that it so closely mirrors Kvothe's experience with speaking the Name of the Wind that I think it was a deliberate lesson that they just did not get.
No, and again, I believe it was deliberate. It's just hard to imagine he deliberately banged his knee. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like that stuff doesn't seem deliberate. It seems like he committed, and by committing, it worked out perfectly. Because it's a perfect visual metaphor. It works out great in terms of getting a lesson across. We get it. Kvothe doesn't.
No.
Get it.
No, I love how it ends with, them. That wasn't a particularly odd day's class. That's his shit. Shows up late as shit, all disheveled, and leaves fucking after banging his knee and cursing fucking everything out and choking on a milkweed seed, and then just walks out without saying anything. Like, all right, another class with Elodin. Like, what was he there for? Like fucking 10 minutes?
Something like that. Yeah. Shows up an hour late.
Yeah.
He's there for a very short period. He shits on Kvothe, calls some dude a virgin.
Yeah. Runs around like a madman, bangs his knee, fucking curses everything out, catches milk seed, chokes on it, and fucking walks out of the room angry. All right, huh?
Classic Elodin.
Another class in the books. Like, dude, is this like a? Do I just get credit if I just show up to this class? Like, how's the grading system on this?
Yeah, are we getting tested on this one?
Yeah. But yeah, and
I was just gonna say when he leaves, he's like, "Yeah, I was gonna stretch my legs. Figure I'll go look for Denna." And then, but then it's like he looks for hours.
Yeah.
Right. Like he downplays it. Like, yeah, whatever. I'll just go see if I can find her. And then it's like, I don't remember exactly, but I got the impression like, dude, this guy's like, he's being extraordinarily thorough.
Yeah.
He's visiting all these different places, but he's telling himself like, yeah, but whatever. I'm just.
Yeah.
It's like he's even lying to himself that he's not. Yeah. He's not going all out for it. It's pretty.
I was looking for her, but I wasn't like looking hard. It just was, I just looked. I happened to look every place I could possibly look for. That's just it. I mean, it just happened to work out that way. It's not a big deal. Get over it. Shut up. I don't even like her.
It is kind of funny too that he, as always, he finds her after he gives up hope, but I also like how that actually ties into Elodin's lesson as well.
Yeah.
Once he stopped, there she is.
That's interesting, Tim. I hadn't thought about that, but you're right. They mirrored each other. Once he stopped trying to find her, he sucked in the milkweed seed
and got all fucking butthurt because
I didn't notice that.
He choked on the milkweed seed, and then had to go storming out of the classroom.
And what's her face? Denna has the same experience. At least she says that. She's like, I always go looking for you. I mean, they always say the same thing.
Yeah.
So Elodin's pulling some strings here, or at least he's connected with his chi.
Yeah. It's all about the chi that nobody in either book talks about. It ends with the two lovebirds fucking walking out of a carriage. She finally found a good man. Unfortunately, it doesn't work out, but there's still hope. There's still a third book. Maybe they'll get back together. But it was good to see. I mean, Ambrose, he's a good dude. He would treat her right. He's got money. He could help her, and Denna's a sweetheart.
He's handsome.
So it's just
he's got a great
perfect
hat.
Match.
He's good with women.
Yeah.
He can dance.
Yeah, he can dance.
He's got a nice
fucking pimp ass hat.
Hey, speaking
fucking
of that,
great poet, famous poet.
That he's surprisingly light on his feet made me think about his maybe having a similarity with Cinder in the same way that Kvothe has similarities with Lanray or Heliax. What do you think about that?
It's another reason why a lot of people are convinced that
are they?
Ambrose is Denna's patron, which I think is weak.
There's not a lot of people that are convinced that. There's some people, but it's very, very small because the clues are so heavy for Braden and Cinder that I think almost everybody believes that it's one of those two if they've really looked into the theories.
Yeah, no, well, I just came across a few that are like that no doubt, at least the way they say it, which I think is ridiculous because you can't have no doubt with any of those theories.
Yeah, that's one of the.
If you look into it enough, you know that. But yeah, I just wanted to say,
except that they're all dead.
That does tie in with one of the things that they say about her patron is that he's surprisingly light on his feet, or he's a good dancer. Something in that.
He says it so often. He says it about like Elodin, and there's mentions of multiple characters that are light on their feet or move around fluidly. Like, so it's mentioned so many different times that I don't know what to I don't know what to make of it. He's not her patron, but like people. I think with people like dancer, you run into it because people on like Reddit, a lot of the times you'll get people who just finished the book and they're just going into theories, they're just doing their first reread, and so they're like, here's something, and then they throw it out there and they don't realize, like, nah, this shit's been picked apart for over a decade. Like, so like that, there's way too many holes in it.
I see Kilvin being a big dancer.
Yeah.
Right?
He's big at popping and locking.
I could see him doing the Harlem
seems graceful.
Shuffle, you know? Yeah.
Nah, he's doing the robot, man. He's all about the fucking robot.
I picture him doing the shim sham.
There's
no the shim.
I can see him doing yoga classes too. That'd be a big thing for Kilvin.
Yeah,
he's
definitely running a yoga class part time.
See him doing downward dog and shit.
When he sees Kvothe practice in his K-Ton, and he's like, "Oh, he's like, man, we're the samesies.
Yeah,
you should come to my class." It's like, what, you have another class? It's like, yeah, bring a mat.
Bring it to, we're doing the fishery. You sweat it all out. It's so good. It's so good.
It's really good for you, man. You get tapped into your chi, bro.
I can let my hair down and just be me now.
I told you guys Tim was a Buddhist.
I really like picturing Kilvin like this because it just doesn't fit his character at all. But yeah, I like what Dan said with his hair down. Like he usually keeps it up and he just whips it out.
Yeah.
It all falls over his shoulders. Like, dude, who is this guy?
Fucking pulls off his clothes and like he's just wearing like a half jersey, like one of those ones showing off his midriff.
Like the old school. It's not, what do you call that?
Fucking short.
With all the holes?
Frayed jeans, super short frayed jean shorts.
Like a mesh shirt, like a jersey.
Yeah. Fucking half jersey.
I haven't seen anybody wear those in forever, but I do remember those back in it. There's a shit ton of holes. What the hell?
Yeah, mesh.
Yeah, like jersey shirts.
Was it mesh? Okay, yeah.
But he's like a
half jersey.
Like, what, this shirt? Don't worry, I'm in the middle of my cross training, guys.
That's some 80s shit. Yeah, Kilvin's definitely, he's secretly rocking that look. He's got it underneath his clothes every day. He's just waiting for opportunities to fucking let his hair down, show everybody who he really is.
He walks around the fishery with weighted sneakers.
Yeah. He's got the strength training shoes. Yeah, I like this. I like this, Kilvin. This is good. I'll take
Kilvin likes to strengthen his ankles.
Yeah, man. He's always working on his vertical leap and shit. He's all athletic. Just doesn't look like it at all. Or just athletic in odd ways. Like he's very flexible and has a good vertical leap. But other than that, he doesn't look fit at all.
He can get his knees up really high.
Be hilarious. Like Kvothe comes into his office and then he just like sees Kilvin and he just like drops into his splits, like bounces and like bounces up, splits the other way. He's just like, what the fuck is this?
He's like, oh, you don't know about that.
You gotta stay limber.
Yeah. Okay.
You gotta stay limber, Kvothe. It's good for your health. Stay limber. He's one of these guys that puts his foot up on the table with like his nuts tied into his little shorts. He's doing
the Van Damme. He's like comes in and he's like got two chairs wide apart and he's just doing the splits with his legs on each chair. He's just standing there spread eagle as Kvothe walks in, fucking just arms across his chest. What can I do for you, Relar Kvothe?
What do you think about my new lights? This thing should last 2 weeks.
Yeah, like, I mean, are we just not going to talk about like what you're doing?
That was all I had for this chapter, guys.
Yeah, that's it for me as well.
Okay.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, the one thing that I did think is a really effective way to show just how stunned Kvothe is. I mean, he literally gets whipped in the neck and doesn't feel it.
Yeah,
that's pretty wild, man.
Yeah, because like, especially for Kvothe.
Like, he almost gets run over, right? But then he gets like literally hit in the neck with a whip, and he's just like,
So he doesn't even feel it. Yeah.
he's just stumbling around. I mean, it's pretty wild. Plus, and you said especially for Kvothe, I don't know if you've ever read this, but apparently redheads have a lower threshold for pain, specifically like literally on the skin type pain. I read that
Not surprising.
somewhere. Well, something to do with the pigmentation or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I've
It's a
never met a
deficiency.
strong redhead. They're always pretty weak and frail. Can't even take the sun. Go out in the sun.
The lack of melanin.
A lot of
That's what it
deficiencies.
is. Melanin's a natural painkiller or something.
Anybody's scared of the beach, there's something wrong with them.
I guess I set that one up, didn't I?
Speaking of scared of the beach, chapter 16 is titled Unspoken Fear. In this relatively short chapter, Kvothe spends a span in the archives trying to console himself. He shares various tidbits of information he found there about the Chandrian and other Fey creatures with us readers. Guys?
Yeah, there's not much to this chapter. You get the great line, the books are a poor substitute for female companionship, but they're easier to find. And you get, nearly a span passes where all he does is go to classes and just chills in the archive, to the point where he's got like a persistent headache from hours of reading by sympathy light and not between his shoulders. But the only thing of real relevance that I had on the book is when he is reading about the Chandrian, and he finds this book, and he's like, at my best guess, the book was 200 years old. The book was a collection of stories and superstitions gathered by an amateur historian in Ventus. Unlike the mating habits of the common Dracus, it made no attempt to prove or disprove these beliefs. The author had simply collected and organized the stories with occasional brief commentaries of how beliefs seemed to change from region to region. And he goes through the different things. He's got, the author recorded songs about the Grey Ladies and the White Riders, a lengthy section on Barrow Draugr, which, now once you know about the Barrow King and King Phasia being a Draugr, those little tidbits hold a little bit more meaning.
What's a Draugr?
Like King Phasia, when we talked about the Barrow King, we talked about
like a zombie?
that episode where King Phasia is a Draugr. Do you remember that when we talked about that?
I do. Yes. Yeah. It's like a zombie, right? It's like a dead person.
Yeah, but not like a, stumbling, mindless zombie. Like King Phasia becomes Wizard King. Like he's surpassed death. I mean, his body is dead, but he's more powerful than ever. So it's not quite like a zombie. But
what isn't the essential thing is that as long as you jump on top of his head 3 times, then he goes away, but he'll come back again.
Yeah, you got to avoid
or
his
if you have
barrow
fireballs.
on his back.
Yeah, but when he throws the barrow, and then he kind of does like, throws his arms in the air and kind of like.
If you jump on his head, he hides in his barrow, and then he spins around real fast. Spikes pop out, spins around real fast, and you got to jump over that.
Yeah.
And then he comes out again, then you jump on his head again. Yeah.
And then he
sometimes
leaves,
he
but then you're going to see him again the next castle that you get to.
A different one. Yeah. You got to kill a bunch of minor
flip up into the air.
barrow kings to get to the King Koopa.
Yeah, true.
Right. What's White Riders? Have we talked about them?
I was going to say the White Riders, I was going to ask about that. So I didn't know anything about Grey Ladies, but I remember White Riders, if I remember right, were referenced with Bass talking about in the Fae.
It might be the Scythe. I don't know.
Yeah, that's what I thought it was. It was like they were like knights that rode literally to go after the skin dancers.
Yes, correct.
And the Scythe are they also the ones that are supposed to be guarding the Kvothe?
Yeah, correct.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, so that might be who they are, but I don't know really much about it.
It was significant. He keeps showing us Florian's significant, and we keep getting that here and there and in these different parts. here to say there's 3 chapters about fairies and an entire one was about, one of which was entirely devoted to Tales of Felurian. So just kind of elevating her,
Yeah.
you know, in terms of her, how she looms in this world.
Yeah.
But yeah,
he definitely lays the groundwork. Like he in the previous chapter, he did it with the Adem and the Lithani, and then he does it, you know, with Felurian. The part that I kind of find interesting is the entire entry on the Chandrian was less than half a page, and it says of the Chandrian, and the way it's spelled in the book is Chandrian is spelled Chandrian. The way it's spelled in the book that he's reading is like Chayan, like the day, Chaendrian. So apparently 200 years ago, it was spelled like Chayan, which is the 7th day of the week, and Chandrian. And so it was more explicit about the 7. And, you know, I guess over the last couple hundred years, it's been shortened just to Chandrian. But that goes back to, you know, what Abinthy had told Arledin and Lorien when he's talking about Chayan means 7, you know, Chandrian, 7 of them. But yeah, so it used to be spelled that way as well, just a couple hundred years ago. And for whatever reason, it's changed.
So the additional things that get added in that jumped out to me about the Chandrian signs were blindness, storms, miscarriages, the sun going dark. Those seem to be things that hadn't been, you know, really, because like wine going sour, that sounds like, you know, decay, right?
Yeah, or blight,
or the blight. Yeah. But
it wasn't really. I'm sorry, Tim. All those things you just mentioned, I haven't heard before, but I could kind of make sense of each one.
Well, I'll just read it. So he says, blue flame is the most common, so we know about that. But I've also heard of wine going sour, blindness, crops withering, so that would be decay or blight, unseasonable storms, miscarriage, and the sun going dark in the sky. So those were the ones that, you know, I don't feel like we've gotten elsewhere, right? Like,
yeah, no. The sun going dark. The only thing I thought was Heliax's shadows that swirled up around him. The miscarriages was, I thought also decay.
Yeah, could be. It could come from that.
Dead crops.
It's hard to know like why, you know, that where the miscarriages would come from, because it seems like if they show up, they try to kill everybody that they possibly can. Yeah. Obviously, sometimes they leave witnesses, but you know, I think it's a lot is just superstition.
So
that people think bad things are happening to them because of the Chandrian, because the Chandrian are are related to bad things.
Well, you can think of things that it's hard to say why this happened, and somebody has a miscarriage, you know, or, you know, there's certain, I mean, it's like in our world when there's bad weather, you know, or you sacrifice, you know, things to try to get rain. I mean, there's been different cultures that do all these crazy things trying to find ways to appease the gods. So I could see a little bit of that, and what's going on here as well.
That's a good point. Yeah, in this one, this in particular, this guy just basically throwing things out that people, you know, it's a book of beliefs, not of facts or even of stuff that people have claimed to have seen. It's strictly beliefs. So any of these things could be neither here nor there.
It's kind of funny to consider certain people, like, no matter what happens, they're like, I'm fucking Chandrian.
Yeah.
Like, you know, guy bets on a fucking event, loses all his money, fucking Chandrian.
Chandrian always making me lose my money.
Yeah.
I can't win, man. Fucking old Gray always fucking up my fucking gambling. The reason my life's in shambles because fucking old Gray always standing in the corner, staring at me, making me lose my money.
It's probably what Elodin was saying in the other language when he busted his knees like, fucking Chandrian.
God damn it, that almighty, great and powerful great Alcenti.
Some drunk ass woodworker cuts off 3 of his fingers like fucking Chandrian, and he's like walking around telling Old Cob stories about how Chandrian cut off his fingers. Just some drunk that doesn't know how to use a fucking knife.
This guy gets caught cheating on his wife, and he's like, "No, baby, it was the Chandrian. The Chandrian made me do it. I swear."
Some old drunk beats his kids and his wife when he gets home, and he's like, "Baby," the next day he's like, "Baby, you know it's the Chandrian. Come on."
The Chandrian were in my spirits.
Wouldn't that be great if Kvothe came across a book like that literally was a guy writing it just to fool his wife?
Yeah.
Just to make up an alibi for his wife, and Kvothe has to be like, "Man, I haven't seen this anywhere else, so I don't know what's going on here."
3 signs of the Chandrian: beating your wife, beating your children, and cheating on your wife. It's right here in the book, honey. I mean,
look, this guy was searching for the Chandrian for years, and it just kept happening to him over and over and over and over again. There's got to be something to it.
At the end of the book, it literally says how to prevent, the Chandrian, getting to you. And it's like, go out and drink at the bar.
Yeah.
Hook up with as many women as possible. Look, it's in the book.
Yeah.
It's not my fault. It's when I come home and stop drinking, honey. That's when the problem starts.
It's good. Little books about the uses of the Chandrian, the utility of the myth of the Chandrian.
Oh, and the last little part I had was that was the best source of information he'd managed to discover in over 100 long hours of searching. So it shows you how thoroughly the libraries have been pruned. Even now that he's got access and he's got full use of the libraries, he still can't find shit on them.
So a span is 11 days.
Yeah.
So he's in there, aside from his normal studies, he's in there 10 hours a day, about 9 hours a day.
Yeah, it could be.
That's a lot.
I'm not sure
That's
exactly how long.
Yeah, there's a couple things that's done in this group where, even when they pull him out and he goes to the bar, it's like he has to shake like the cobwebs in his mind from like just sitting in these rooms and reading, because it becomes like a drug, it seems, like just constantly reading. And I get it. I mean, I've gone through those stages where it's like, you read so much that's like, it's all your body wants to do. It's all your mind wants to just be activated in that way. But that's done in these chapters. Like Dan was saying, the frustrating and profitless inquiry. I mean, the extent of frustration that brings, but then also it's testing your resolve. Like how much farther is he just gonna keep going? Just keep going. Because he doesn't have a lot of other choices. This is his goal in life, basically. This is what his search is. And we get another piece when he does go with the mayor and all, but at this point it's like, well, it's not looking good.
No,
basically.
No, he's not going to find the answer. He was not going to find the answer just staying at the university. It's clear that they have stripped that place clean of any useful information as far as the Chandrian or Amir. At least that he's been able to find so far. Maybe once he learns to, read Yillish knots, then he'll discover information that they weren't able to hide. But doesn't appear that he's going to find anything just reading books.
I feel like the chaos that exists in the organization of the archives that lends some hope to Kvothe finding a diamond in the rough.
Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely does. It's. Again, I know I kind of thought about this a lot early on and when we first started doing this, but it, again, is one of the things that's so interesting about the way that Rothfuss set this all up is what he's obsessed about seems childish and foolish. So he can't search other people out. He can't talk about it. He can't talk to other people about it. So he's literally left to his own resources. And he's got this massive library, but it's been made as difficult as can possibly be for him. I mean, that's what they've been spending years doing. It's such a tall order, man. Like,
he should have approached it like Elodin and just said he was writing a song, and looking for little nuggets of information. He's like, if you realize like your dad figured it out, like just do what he did.
Man, what was it traveling? Was it, what was it that Arla didn't come upon?
Well, he probably
How did he
also
come
had
upon
access to libraries. I'm sure that they had access to information because of their association with Greyfallow. So between traveling all around the fucking four corners and being able to talk to different cultures and different people, and like, eventually, yeah, you would assume you're going to run into someone that knows something.
Well, and he
How
also
far
did
did-
have a name for himself. I mean, people respected him, at least in the higher, it seems like, at least in the higher circles. I mean, people knew who he was. So, yeah, I would think he'd have some access there.
And I wonder how long he had spent actually on it. Even though we know what we know is he spent, like over a year on this.
Yeah, it says
song in particular.
he'd been working on the song for about 2 years.
But like actually digging up the information, and how far does that his interest in it go back?
Yeah. I was gonna say like his latent interest before it was like fully activated. It'd be because like obviously before you really delve into something, something's getting you there, right? You're hearing little tidbits here and there, and it lives. I mean, clearly the Chandrian lives in these fairy tale or these children's stories. So it's evident in people's minds. It's just not something people really delve into and talk about.
Yeah, he was. He was looking for an excuse. He was really into Shandy, and he was like, "How can I get this done and not have it blow back on me? Like maybe the Chandrian. I think I've heard the Chandrian make you cheat."
How far did
alibi?
Yeah.
How far did Greyfallow's territory span?
I don't know.
How far did they get to go?
Like it doesn't matter as far as how far his territory expands. Like he was going to other places. It's not like Greyfallow owned the four corners. I mean, he owned his little property in Arleden was going wherever.
Yeah, he had like a writ of patronage, right? Like he had the
It's like, the mayor's, the mayor's little paper. He doesn't own the Commonwealth, but Kvothe can take that to the university, and his, that little piece of paper gets his tuition paid.
But he was Greyfallow's territory in the Commonwealth?
No, it was in. I'm not even sure if they mention where it is exactly. Maybe like Ventus or something. I'm not even sure. Don't remember. Doesn't really talk about how big his
doesn't matter
property is.
But they were traveling all over the place.
Yeah,
all over.
Again, it's like a permit. I mean, it's like this person in high places vouches for me, and that means basically that's a key to get you in most towns. Once they hear that, it's like, oh, well, then this guy's clearly some real shit. This guy can really perform or whatever. Somebody's vouching for him, So
well, it reminds. Back when people were trading in the Caribbean, they would have a letter of marque from either the King of Spain, King of England, King of France. You didn't. It wouldn't even have to be from the king, but a noble, and you could trade in all these different. Ports.
And part of it would be even in their name. You're doing it for them to spread their wealth, to spread their name, and get their ownership in different areas as well.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't tell people who I know, and they still give me stuff.
Nice.
I don't even have to name drop.
Name drop. Well, I guess that is sort of what it is, huh? But
hey, look at this piece of paper. It says, "I know this person. Now you have to trade with me."
Dan just goes in and he's like, "See this paper right here? It says I'm
George
Dan.
Washington. I got Dan. 3 of them. Give me stuff."
So instead of, do you know who my dad is? It's do you know who my boss is?
Do you know this president? G.W. George Washington. Do you want it?
Yeah, I guess that's how it works, huh?
Yep. I'm always dropping presidents' names. I know them all. President Hamilton.
Yeah,
he's not.
that's the letter nowadays, isn't it?
So I'm sorry, President Ben Franklin. There.
Yeah, also wasn't a president.
You see these three George Washingtons? He said I could buy these Cheerios and these bananas.
But that is all I have on chapter 16.
Yeah, me as well.
Okay, then, chapter 17 is titled Interlude, titled Parts. So back at the Waystone Inn, the men of the town gather for a brief memorial to Shep. They take a couple shots and share kind words. Afterwards, Kvothe lectures Chronicler and Bast before returning to his story. Guys?
Yeah, I like the way it breaks into it, where he's like, puts them into roles. And, he's like, Chronicler, slash back in your chair. Bast, if you can't stop grinning, at least start telling our friend the story about the 3 priests and the miller's daughter. Bast grinned widen. That's a good one. Everyone have their parts? Kvothe picked up the cloth from the bar and walked through the doorway into the kitchen, saying, "Enter, Old Cob, stage left."
Well, I was going to say, Kvothe did say, I, on the other hand, am too busy to be bored. I'm bustling about, tending to the 100 small tasks, trying to look. If he's trying to look busy, he should just look annoyed. Right? Because if you look annoyed, you look like you're busy. Right? You ever tried that?
Is that the rule?
I didn't know that's a rule.
It's a George Costanza idea. If you just look like you're annoyed,
right.
people will think you're busy. And he does it, and it fucking works. He actually gets promoted, and he gets like a vacation and shit. Because he looks like he's super busy all the time. He's literally just acting annoyed.
Is that the one where he leaves his car there?
Yeah, they get him like a stress doll, all kinds of shit. It's like, you need to take some time off, man. You're taking work too seriously. It's literally he has nothing to do. So he just acts annoyed so they don't give him shit to do. So
they think he dies, and at the end, Jerry Stiller's like, "Jerry, call me back. George is dead."
Yeah, Steinbrenner's here. Yeah. Yeah. But, I do like, I like how Bast gets so jacked to participate. He's so excited to play his part. He's like, "Oh, okay. Yeah. What can I do?"
Yeah, he actually does seem bored all the time.
It's a good one for Old Cob too. I mean, it boosts his character after being the annoying storyteller guy. Then he comes in like he's annoyed, like what the fuck are they stopping me from doing my work and all that shit. But then when he finds out why they did it, and then he's like, oh, okay, so this was a good reason. And then like when the kid Aaron feels like he might be doing something wrong by missing the funeral, Old Cob's like, hey, don't you fucking sweat it. Shep would have known that the work needs to be done. You got to do your work. Don't even fucking sweat it. He's like, we'll send him off right now. Like it makes him a much more likable character, where it brings out why you could see these people like him versus how annoying he is in so much of the rest of the book.
Yeah, it's a cool scene in the sense I got the real feeling of like a wake. It has that feel, and and it's very true to the characters in the sense of Shep or Aaron. Aaron tries to speak, and does like what he can do, and then he's like, well, I don't mean he can, like the other guys can tell like he's uncomfortable because he's young, and inexperienced, and they just make him feel better. Yeah, and they're just like, hey, you did fine, man. That's there's nothing else to do. That's it. This is all you can do.
Well, I can see a group of us friends getting together if one of us died in the same way. That's it seemed very true to life in that way. Also, go ahead.
I was just gonna say I like Kvothe brought out the good whiskey. That was cool. Brought out the good shit. Take some shots.
Yeah, they were fucking toasting him with the shit fucking well whiskey.
Yeah.
Like, all right, just let's get the well. What do you got on special right now? It's a happy hour.
Did you guys?
You got your happy hour.
Did you guys?
Yeah.
Swill.
Like, it's Shep. Let's not go overboard with this. Yeah, we want to fucking toast him, but
yeah. Did you guys pick up on the fact that there's no music at the end and Old Cob was like, why am I here instead of Hall and Oates?
Yeah.
I thought of it
Did not
anyway.
pick up on that, but yeah, well done.
I thought it was Patrick Rothfuss as well done. Personally.
He's a big Hall and
I
Oates
think it might have been on purpose. I think he might be.
Does
Yeah, I
he
like
even
some
say
Hall and
like
Oates.
Hall and Oates?
Yeah.
I bet
Whoever
he does.
said Hall and Oates, he did it on purpose.
What's so
I bet
damn
he
did.
important
And-
is worth hauling me into town this time of morning. Daylight's burning. There's a sudden burst of laughter. Everyone turned. Yeah, I don't even see where he
before
would
that.
say that.
It's
I
before
think we
that.
should read all 4 pages just to show that Fitz was pulling that out of his ass.
Yeah, he just.
No, I didn't.
pull it out. Oh yeah, no, he said instead of Hall and Oates. Yeah, he does. Yeah, you have any idea
Why am I here instead of Hall and Oates? And I was like, yeah, let's get some Hall and
Yeah.
Oates on in this bar.
Yeah.
I don't think that's
Get
a
the
real.
jukebox.
I don't think a lot of people are playing Hall and Oates at a wake. Maybe at a wedding. Actually, after one of my buddies got married, I played a Hall and Oates song, and it was like one of those times. It was perfect.
Dun
timing.
dun dun na na na.
Fucking
Na,
perfect.
na,
timing.
na, 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 na.
That is not Hall
Ice,
and Oates.
ice.
That is not.
It's my favorite
But it
Hall
was
and
one of
Oates
those
song.
situations, which was perfect. I've never played it at a wake. I've never played any music at a wake, so yeah, I don't think that would be appropriate. For
I
Hall
always
and Oates,
bring
but-
boombox to awake. Fucking bump music.
Timmy McVeigh, at your wake, you might have played Private Eyes. They're
Nice.
watching you.
Nice.
Yep.
I love the idea, the image of Dan with like an 80s style boombox, like one of the ones I had as a kid with cassettes. And he's got
Yeah.
like 4 cassettes in his pocket,
Mhm.
like his jeans pockets. He's got 1 cassette each pocket. He's got a boombox with the C
Plastic
batteries.
neon colored sunglasses, wearing shorts no matter the weather.
I like
Just
it.
carrying a boombox that's battery charged. And doing,
Playing
those
nothing but
D
club
batteries
music.
too. Those
At a
D
wake.
batteries.
Yeah.
You had to have so many of them, like 12.
Yeah.
it's
It's a
lying
ba-
the whole back of it, man.
Come in without the
out. You
batteries,
pop one
and
out,
you're
they all
going up to
fly
every
out.
single person. Like, hey, do you got like D batteries? Like what? Why would I know? I did
I'm
not
just
bring
trying to get
D-
some tunes, man. Just trying to play some sweet tunes.
Like, how were we
It's like, it's
supposed
a-
to play
this
this music?
It's a wake. Who wants to hear your fucking music? Man, I got some good shit, man.
Yeah, I made a sweet mixtape for this.
I dubbed this off the radio. It's good stuff. All clean.
Ridiculous shit. Make everybody hate you.
That's a good way to do it. Like, what the fuck's up with this guy in his boombox? Who brought him? But yeah, well, one of the things I did pick up on that I thought was being emphasized at the end is that Kvothe, as Coat, is no longer the hero. Like, he did not do the heroic thing that should have been done, which is this, be
Tried.
braver, and
He
Shep
couldn't.
would still be alive. Well, that's what I mean. I mean, he's not the hero anymore.
Yeah.
Whether he wants to try or not, he doesn't have the capability.
Yeah.
He's watching that boy get raped again, basically, is what he just let happen.
Yeah, I like the Old Cob too, like the acknowledgement of, I wish I'd been, brave and, he was alive to go see his wife. He's like, I wish, because he does fucking just go and cower in the corner. So he acknowledges, that the fact that he pussed out and he wish, you get that sense that he wished he would have been braver, but he's, an old man. He would have got fucking wasted anyways.
Yeah, and does it actually? Now that I'm remembering it, does Kvothe even get mentioned in this story? Does Kvothe do anything?
He tries to light the skin dancer on fire, and he's not able to use his sympathy.
Yeah, because I don't know if it's in this
Oh,
chapter,
right.
but Aaron
With
says,
the alcohol.
I saw what you were doing. You just
It's not
didn't
in
have a
this
lighter."
chapter. Yeah, that was when
Well,
it
yeah.
happened. That's in the That's in the name of the wind.
Yeah.
That's when it happens. Right after
Yeah.
it, they're sitting there. I saw you try to light him on fire, but he's like, you didn't have any matches or whatever. But no, it was Kvothe tried to use sympathy, but it didn't work.
So what you said is actually evident, Dan, that Kvothe is not the hero here at all.
Well, that's what I said.
Or you said?
I mean, I could have said it.
Wait, what?
I said I could have said it.
Oh, okay.
I said it. All right, Tim said. Let's give it to Tim, Dan.
Fine.
But no, but
Tim has to have it. Okay, fine, Tim, it's yours.
So
you know what though? Well, two things. I would say what Old Cob was kind of saying was I think he was summarizing that to quote Hall & Oates, I can't go for that.
No can do.
Yeah, and I think he was also calling the skin dancer, you could call him a man-eater.
Yeah, I was going to say, I was like, he's a man-eater.
We're just searching for Hall & Oates songs at this point.
Is that a Hall & Oates song? Like, I swear
that
man-eater came to my mind right before you said that, but I didn't realize that's a Hall & Oates song.
Yeah, that's how strong it is in your DNA, Dan. It's floating in there. It wanted to come to the top, but I had to go.
Well, I think their biggest hit is
Ice
Ice Baby, so that's what I always go to.
Jesus.
So anyway, it's evident,
dismount.
and the fact that they bring up again
too legit to quit. Hey.
About the lack of courage that Kvothe has, and Bass saying after they bring it back up, Bass says, just real quick, Bass says, no, you would have done it, Rashi. You would have been the one that saved the day. He wasn't. He was not.
Again, I think Dan was right, though. It's not lack of courage. It's lack of ability at this point. He doesn't have it.
Yeah.
He tried. He just wasn't able to do it.
Yeah. And he could have jumped over the bar and tried to do his karate chop, but apparently that wouldn't have worked either because he ain't got the Lethani no more. So he looked like a fool.
I don't know why they didn't sing, at the end of the road. Like, that was the perfect time for it.
Man.
That is not a Hall & Oates song, Dan.
No, none of these are. So Dan had one, and he didn't know it, and now he's been intentionally dropping things
just throwing songs out now.
And are just pop garbage songs one after another.
End
Please
don't.
Don't do that. Nope. No.
Can't let go.
Oh my God.
So did the tumbler glasses have a round bottom? It didn't make sense.
I was gonna say I've never. These exist, right? I mean, it sounds like they do. I've never.
Tumbler, yeah.
Tumbler.
What's a real thing?
Rather. I mean, I guess I get the point. Is you have to drink the whole thing at once. Still seems like you'd rather have a.
It's definitely something a man
down.
invented. The tumbler. Like, it's like
we're getting fucking drunk.
Yeah.
No, put your glasses down, motherfuckers.
This ain't no fucking sipping whiskey. Tonight. It's a fucking down it in one gulp whiskey.
This is that dude that used to smoke.
Still like, go ahead.
This is the dude that used to smoke joints with. That was like, all right, we're holding this in for 20 seconds. Every single one of us. It's like, dude, what the fuck, man? Can we just enjoy this?
I'm just trying to have a nice time.
Yeah.
I gotta kill myself with this thing?
All right, we're gonna bong. We're each gonna bong 6 beers in a row.
Like, do we have to? We have to do this? We have to do it? Okay, well.
That's why I always hated drinking games.
There was a practicality back in the day when I hated the taste of alcohol.
Yeah.
There was a period where I had to do those things. I remember bonging 6 freaking Busch Lights, then throwing up, but then being hammered and thinking it was fun as shit. And I remember playing Drunk Driver and those other games, the card games. And
you didn't play drinking games with Tim? Like, he'd just go in the bathroom and pour out his beers.
Yeah, no, that was never me.
Yeah, I would go in the bathroom and pour out my beers, too, out of my stomach.
Yeah, I was going to say, unfortunately, Unfortunately, I wasn't pouring them out, and I was drinking every single one of them, and my liver, probably still can show that. But
I'll vouch for Tim's liver. I've seen it. It's black.
It's gross.
His heart too. His heart's black too.
Jesus. But once you like the taste of alcohol, then there's no point to it anymore, man. Although I do remember playing Thunderstruck just for like the hell of it. And
that's a rough one. Like that's like you don't realize how many times they say thunder in it until you have to drink every time they say thunder. And then you're like, Jesus.
So anybody
Christ,
who doesn't know, it's a
like
waterfall game.
3 beers.
Thunderstruck.
3 minutes.
Well, Thunderstruck is a waterfall game, and so you drink until the next time they say thunder. Then the next guy drinks until the next time they say thunder, and so
that's
on.
not the way.
And I've seen.
I only played it where like every time they say thunder, you take a drink, and you end up drinking like 3 beers in 3 minutes.
I saw. In fact, a group of people I know at the Indy 500 every year play Thunderstruck the way I said it, like a waterfall. And one year they did it with Jim Beam, and that was the same
ridiculous.
year that was the same year. This is not a lie. That an ambulance came and took one of the ladies away because she had played that game.
Yeah, it's surprising that chugging Jim Beam could have dire consequences.
Jeez.
Shocker.
The funny thing about Thunderstruck is like you start it and you're like, well, this isn't that bad. Yeah. It's so funny because just in the beginning you're like, well, I can do this, and then you're just like, oh, and you just keep going, and then you're just like, you see all the cans on the. I remember, like, Dan, your place at first place lived in L.A. I just remember that little table being filled with cans, empty cans, and then on the floor. And I think we did 2 rounds, and just like you, me, and Rolf were just hammered, day drinking.
You guys played it with only 3 of you?
Yeah. I've done that so many times.
Again, we don't do the waterfall thing you're describing. All 3 of us are drinking every time they say thunder.
Yeah, it's in essence the same thing that they were doing, but yeah.
We would do stupid shit like play the century game, whatever it was called, where you take a shot of beer every minute. Yeah. Which doesn't seem that hard until you realize like you're knocking back like a 6-pack in like an hour.
Yeah, it starts to catch up to you after a while.
You think that's what these guys did later on in the night when Old Cob's like, we'll celebrate properly later on after I get my Hall & Oates in the field.
Yeah. It sounded like that was the plan. We're going to do some real drinking later.
They did a Century Club and a waterfall Thunderstruck after that.
Oh man, they were getting wasted at that fucking that funeral.
Guaranteed.
I will say the older I've gotten, the more the times that I am like, all right, I'm going to do some real drinking tonight. The next, dude, it's so regrettable. Like every time I do that, the next day it's like, all right, I might not drink for a couple months, man. That was a bad move.
No. Yeah. It's always regrettable the next day for me. I wake up and I regret it. But yeah, I think that'll cover it for 18. So if you're listening out there, especially you youngins, if you want a fun time, take a shot of, chug a bottle of Jim Beam every time they say thunder.
Wait, a bottle of Jim Beam?
It's a ridiculous game.
Literally, death.
They literally passed around a bottle of Jim Beam. It was so ridiculous.
Yeah, that's pretty ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's a good way to make yourself not just puke, but like maybe, have 2 days of recovery. Like,
I don't want to remember this great time at all. I don't want to remember any of it.
Well, especially when you're doing that, you're like, I don't want to remember the next 18 hours.
Yeah.
And I want that to start very soon.
Yeah. Did I have fun last night? I hope so, because I feel like dog shit today.
That's a great trick to play on somebody, is that the second they wake up, do you remember what you did last night? Fuck.
You don't even have to. If someone's chugging Jim Beam, you don't even have to pretend with the, do you remember what you did last night? It's a guarantee. They did not do good things.
As soon as they wake up, they're like, "What did I do?"
Oh God.
Best hope is like,
Oh,
please tell
God.
me I just passed out immediately.
yeah.
All
Yeah.
right.
Speaking of, chapter 18 is wine and blood. That might be what you wake up with all over your shirt.
Yeah.
Yes, chapter 18, Wine and Blood. In this chapter, Will and Sim force Kvothe to stop sulking and come with them to the Aeolian. There they are surprised by Denna. She hustles them at cards, inquires and learns about sympathy, and in return buys the guys drinks and informs them of some nearby hoes who are interested. She also reveals Stanchion and Deok's sexual proclivities. Guys?
They were not. Those were wonderful women, and
There were some great parts.
I almost don't want to do the rest of this episode after.
Their fifth slander rises. There was some great stuff in this one. Denna's fantastic in this one. Sim gets super embarrassed in a really funny way. But Denna shows up very suddenly. Just saunters? Would you say up to their table?
Yeah. Yep.
You would.
Although I guess if I remember right, I think Kvothe is kind of like in a trance anyway. He's not really paying attention.
He's like falling asleep at the table.
Yeah.
And she walks up, and then she's like, play along, and then Sam jumps in. It's been an hour. Like, don't think buying me a drink is going to fix matters. I want an apology.
So was it that she was just standing up at the bar and somebody came over, or did she come in with that guy?
It sounds like some dude was like clinging on to her, trying to pick her up and being overly aggressive about it, and she wanted to get away from the dude. So she used them as her way, but it sounds like she was camped out there waiting for them. She was specifically looking for them.
For a couple weeks, actually, right?
Yeah,
she's been waiting on all of them.
She's been looking.
Yeah,
she's been looking for him for a while because she's got something she got to figure out. She's trying to crack a code, and which is interesting. I was curious where that's all coming from because she's even getting to the point where she's willing to like pay for information. So I don't know if it's the patron. Something's really driving her.
Yeah, I brought it up either last episode or the episode before. Like clearly the patron has told her about written magic, and she's not seen him since Traben. And so now after she saw the magic with the bell, when the bell was rang, and she's like, oh, so this is a written magic? That kind of sparked the wheels, like where this guy's obviously told her that there's a written magic, and then she sees Sigildry, and so now she's trying to dig in and see if she's testing the waters to see if what her patron told her is true. That's why at the end she's like disappointed, and she's like, I thought it sounded too good to be true. So Dan, she's clearly testing him.
It kind of, because she ends up that way, it kind of becomes clear that it's a different magic that we know than we have learned about so far. And I know we've talked about the Yelish knots, but I'm curious, what are the specific things that she says about this magic? She says, oh, what if it's just something that you write down and it becomes true? And then she says, what if it's something that you have written down and someone sees it and it becomes true for them? Is there anything else that I'm missing?
It's, you can make people, like what she uses when she writes ties in a Yelish knot beautiful in her hair. Obviously, the point is anybody who can see that, even if they can't read it, they're going to think beautiful. That's what they're going to, even if they can't read it, they're still going to think that. And so
you think that
I think is that's what she's talking about, that type of thing where you can make people believe something or feel a certain way, even if they can't read it, they'll see it and they'll feel it.
Yeah, this is just it's advertising.
Yeah.
Right?
Subliminal
really
advertising.
She's Donald Draper.
She's discovered subliminal advertising.
So does it do you guys think that it might lend to the theory that Kvothe is bent over a barrel by Denna? that she's just got it. He's really susceptible to yellowish knots, and she's not as beautiful.
No,
really
because
nice
she
ears,
clearly doesn't know it at this point in the book, and we're well into book 2, and she doesn't know this magic yet. So no, I don't. He's already head over heels,
or she just doesn't know how it
knows
works.
magic, huh?
Or she just doesn't know how it works, and she's trying to find out if they're teaching, what it is. And
yeah, but I mean, that's what I'm
works.
saying. Like, if she doesn't know how, she doesn't even think it's real, and she's testing them to figure out if that magic exists. So clearly, she's not capable of the magic. Otherwise, she wouldn't be trying to figure out if it actually exists, if what he told her was true. And so, I think there's he's already head over heels for her before she even knows if the magic exists or not.
I think there's a couple of things happening, in which case, and actually there's a few things that I wanted to mention from what you guys were talking about, but one is, you could say she doesn't know, and she needs to have explained to her what sympathy is, and then she'll understand it's not what she thinks it is. But I think she might also be onto something. When she's sort of, there's a point where Kvothe's explaining to her, like, a little bit further, because she drills in, like, well, what if it's just something you write down? And she, like, kind of isn't paying attention to them. She's writing something on the table.
Yeah.
She's, like, sort of not there. She's in her own mind with that. And then Kvothe's, like, asks her a question. She's kind of comes to, and she's like, never mind. I think she's on to something, is what I'm getting. I feel like Rothfuss is suggesting that she's on it. Well, and we know it with the Illish knots because we get that further as well.
And yeah, it's clear. Like, and when her patron comes back into the picture, he takes her to Yill, and then the next thing you know, she's tying Yillish knots in her hair, and it's not until Kvothe learns Yillish knots that he realizes what she's, like, spelling in her hair. But yeah, I think it's clear that the patron is dangling a special magic in front of her to keep her, on the hook. And she hasn't seen him in a while, and now she's trying to figure out, like, is what he told me, is this real? Is he dangling a false carrot in front of my face, or is this a real one? And so because she deflates when she realizes, and she's like, they're like, well, Sigildry is kind of a written magic. And she's like, yeah, but that's still, like, energy, energy money changing. And they're like, yeah. And she's like, it's not it. It's not what. That's not what was promised to me.
I like the idea that her patron wrote down "confused" on a piece of paper and slipped it in her pocket, and she found it. She looked at it and she was like, "Fuck, I am confused." And that's got her. She's like, "I think
this
that's
is
what
magic.
It's like this written magic, and that's all it's
Dude,
based on."
When we see
some super base,
when we see her patron, he's got dreadlocks, braids all through his hair. He's all braided up like he's went on vacation in Jamaica.
He's got written on his forehead, "You love me."
Yeah, I love the idea.
I do.
That he's like really basic charlatan magician that just has one over on her. No, it's funny though what you were mentioning, Fitz. I actually had that in the next chapter when Kvothe was talking about her ability as a talented musician, and she's like, "Nah, you're sweet and all that stuff." He's like, "But nobody really thinks I'm that great, but you." I kind of like the idea that maybe it is just he's real starry-eyed about her, and he sees her performing this music, and the way he describes it, it sounds like she's great, but we only have really seen her perform in front of Kvothe, also at the Olean,
from his eyes.
She wasn't leading the show, so yeah, it's kind of it's kind of a funny.
It talks about like after when she plays her song, when she creates her song, he mentions like you probably have heard of it. It's became extremely famous.
Right, yeah. Well, yeah, but that was because Ambrose started playing it at his poetry slams.
Yeah,
he blew it up.
Yeah,
he blew it up. So
So I'll tell you what I like the idea of better is
snapping for himself.
You know what? I like the idea also that his name became AM-BROS, Ambrose.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was him and Kvothe on lute.
Yeah.
Tonight,
Ambrose.
Ambrose.
Tonight.
So,
at
I'll tell you what I like.
Elodin.
The idea that
In the Ambrose.
in book 3, we're going to get a big dose or a big info drop of what, Yillish knots are and what that whole language is about. I feel like that's going to be a really fun thing to learn about.
He also gave a suggestion of how a clock from Ill, I think it was. This was early in book 1.
Yeah, Master Hem makes one, like Basil or one of them, when they're late. He's like, look up. He asked him if he was from Yil or something, and he's like, because I could understand because they don't use, they don't tell time the same way or something. Can't remember what the thing is, but yeah, he has him look up stuff on that. But yeah, Yil is mentioned too much, and the fact that he says like the lackless box feels like it's got Yillish knots, and in those books, like the Duke of Gibeah, that book on the Chandrian, it's got the the embroidery or whatever they call it around the edges of the book. The what?
It's got Braille.
No, not Braille. But
it's like Yillish is Braille. They use Braille.
I can't remember what they.
What if everyone
what the word they use? But anyways, it's got the stuff around the edges.
Everyone in Ill is a blind albino. What if that's what it ends up being?
I mean, that's the most likely scenario.
And her patron is a blind albino from Ill. And he loves. He's always talking about being so ill.
Yep.
He's the illest.
The Yillish.
I do love the idea.
Yillish.
I love the idea of being able to go there and him creating this whole other world, because we got that with the Adem, and it's great. It's fantastic. That whole, to me, that's a big part of why book 2 is the more satisfying read, is because it fleshes out so much, and you kind of start over in a way in reading the book, because it changes so much. There's so much difference in what happens in it with the Adem and how their story's so different. I like the idea of that happening again with Yil, and the way he writes his stuff is fantastic.
It's a lot deeper. Learning Kvothe learning Yillish knots. I mean, that has to be significant with all the other mentions, and the fact that there's a whole, basically books, that are undiscovered because people can't read Yillish, and so him learning Yillish knots is going to be significant with the lackless box, with the magic, with all the shit surrounding it. It's got to be significant in book 3.
That would also explain what we were talking about earlier, that he can find a book that hasn't been pruned yet, because if some other people can't read it, and he's got those magic hands, and now he knows how to read Braille. Boom! Now he's able to find the secrets and the Illish books in the archives, and open up that.
It's not Braille; it's embroidery, Tim. They embroider it,
and
you read it the same way.
As far as books too, there's also the book that Ari, that she's saving for him. She talks about they mention a book that's uncut, part of it is uncut, where the pages need to be cut to be opened it. And she talks about that book and a number of times when she mentions not ready. It's not time to give it to him yet, but she's got a book that she's clearly going to give him.
I like.
Hey Dan, I don't remember that. What is that now?
She mentions a book, and she mentions that it's uncut or something along those lines, and it's mentioned multiple times in the slow regard of Silent Things. So she's clearly going to give him a book. Let's see.
I bet that's how you find. Is that how you find rustle? Is you cut the pages and they rustle against each other? So that's how you get to find them.
Do what?
Slice. They call them slice.
So at the end of it is from port, she goes from port. She brought his fine teacup. She brought the leather book, uncut, unread, and utterly unknown. She brought the small stone figurine. All three of these things were set upon the shelf beside his bed so he would have some beauty of his own. So there's clearly a book she's going to give him, and that's in slow regard, yeah. So there's clearly a book that she's going to give him that, I mean, it has to play some importance, some unread, uncut book.
Yeah,
like it's got to have some kind of importance.
I really like that idea of having a book that is yet to be read. That's pretty cool, you know. And it has some significance. Like there's a sign of it that it hasn't been read yet. It's not just like it's in cellophane wrapping or something.
Yeah, it also lends to what Old Cob or one of the guys was saying when they're relaying old stories about Kvothe, and they're like, "Oh no, he found an old secret book under the archives."
Or, I don't know if it was under. Yeah, it could. He found an old secret book in the archives.
Yeah.
Yeah, at the university, I think I don't even think they mentioned the archives, but yeah, I mean, I think that book's going to play some kind of significance. I mean, she mentions it multiple times in her book, and she talks about it as a gift for him that he's not ready for. So it's got to play some significance.
That's interesting. She knows he's not ready for it, so he needs to learn the ways of the ill. He needs to become the illest.
I'm the illest.
It's
I'm
after
curious, Dan, you said
after they start the boy band, they gotta have 3 big hits before they're ready for it.
So you said that they mention it a few times or multiple times. So is there any other clues there?
No. I mean, there's nothing. We don't know anything about it other than
just that there's some uncut book. Unread.
There's a book and uncut, unread, and like she mentions uncut multiple times. I'm not even exactly sure what that means other than 2 pages that are kind of like stuck together that you have to cut them apart to open it.
Well, no, like didn't they used to do books where they would use the same page for 2 or I guess 4 pages of a book where you would books used to be like folded pages and then they'd cut them and it would be 4 pages. Yeah.
I don't know. Could be.
The only time I remember pages being stuck together was a buddy of
mine
I grew up with.
Well.
Speaking of people being stately and good-mannered, noble-mannered, Sim, I'm sure Dan caught this. He maybe was going to point it out, but when Denna's talking about wines and she says something about she's talking about a particular wine. Yeah, he pulls an actually. She goes, I don't know if this is a decent vintage. It's not actually, says Simon said matter-of-factly. He's like, Sirbior is a Turin. Only wines from Ventus have a vintage technically. Takes a sip. Really?
Okay. Okay, Buzz.
It's it's a common misuse of the word. Good wine though. It's the whole back and forth is like, yeah, he kind of comes across a little bit of but he gets embarrassed in the end. She pays him back. Although, I mean, I don't think she got offended or anything, but
no, it's hilarious.
A little bit Buzz Killington move there.
I like this. This whole chapter is great. Where she's like, "I'm not asking you to teach me magic. I just want to know how it works." And they go through the back and forth, and you see how smooth Denna is, how good she is at working the crowd. Like, because she didn't go into this blind. She knew exactly how to twist them to her will. Like, they didn't want to tell it. So first she's like, I got some secrets on ladies. Like, you guys, fucking chumping it out there. I'll fucking tighten that game up for you.
It's pretty great, too, because it plays off of how she hustled them in cards. She plays like she doesn't know and then hustles them. But I was going to say, man, the whole thing where she's like, all right, so magic. So do some magic. Like, do it. I don't know. It just reminds me. It reminded me of something that I probably watch about every 6 months that I think, Dan, you sent to me originally was Liam Neeson saying, I'm looking to do stand-up comedy.
Yeah.
I'm gonna start doing some funny comedy, some slapstick comedy, but it's Liam Neeson, so he's serious tone.
It's a classic.
Gervais, and I think Stephen Merchant.
Yeah, he's like he's like, all right, so we'll do a scene where like I'm going into the grocery store, and he's like, hey, how you doing, sir? I have AIDS. It's like, well, no, like
it's like AIDS might be a little strong for comedy.
Yeah.
And then he won't drop it. He
just keeps coming. It. He he would like wait one step and then bring it right back to AIDS.
Yeah. He's like, okay. All right, let's go back. Let's do it again. And he's like, I'm riddled with AIDS. I got it from an African prostitute. And he just keeps going further and further. Like, let's not do AIDS. So then he like name drops some actors. It's like, well, dude, like, yeah, it's such a classic scene.
A legendary skit.
All right, the reason why it reminded me of it is the whole idea of just like, all right, you're a comedian. All right, laugh. Let's make me laugh. Let's go. Boom. Yeah. You're ready. You're on. Boom. Let's go. It's like, what the fuck, man? Like, yeah.
And
you guys are supposed to be funny, right? Let's go. Give it to me.
Oh yeah, so you're funny.
Funny.
Haha. You're Mr. Funny. Haha.
Be funny.
Let's go.
Yeah.
I like to laugh.
Tell me a joke.
So I like about this that Will tries to intercede and knock Kvothe off his game, and Kvothe's showing and proving that he's the real deal.
You mean when they're doing the sympathy and all?
Yeah, when they're trying to go ahead.
Well, I because I wasn't really finished on what I was talking about. Like with she doesn't like. Not only she starts with working them on the fact that they're flailing around with girls and shit, but then when that doesn't prompt them, she's like, all right, I also know that they got a Miravani, and if you tell me, I'll fucking get that bottle. Like, she did her fucking homework. Like, she didn't just like prod them with things that she's just throwing shit up against the wall. Like, she went straight to girls and then scutting and a special specific bottle of scutting to get them to talk. So like, she came in prepared. She knows her work. Like, she knows how to fucking hustle. Like, she's not like he doesn't like outwardly explain how good she is at hustling, but
he shows it.
He shows it. She is a fucking masterful hustler. But yeah, then they start explaining sympathy, and they kind of go through. It's a real good explanation. Like, it ties into everything we've already learned, and just kind of builds more blocks on it. Where they add in the bit about where's the slippage go? They add a little bit more to slippage, and they add in, bad links and all that kind of stuff. So it kind of just reiterates points that we know and builds off of them. And I like
it. Also,
go ahead.
I was just going to mention. I've mentioned this a few times, but I think book 2 can stand on its own, and this is one of those examples.
Yeah,
where he gives us literal, the piecing together of things, and how it literally works, and how you see it illustrated. They're literally teaching her, the three of them. So, and the way it works together, it's really effective.
And this was I think, an important point for Denna that rules out, I think, a few things about her. Like, when he links the coins on the table, Will does, and he pushed the right hand one with a finger and the left hand one slid across the table at the same time, mimicking the motion. Denna's eyes went a little wide at this, and while she didn't gasp, she did draw a long breath through her nose. It only then occurred to me that she'd probably never seen anything like this before. The fact she is so taken aback by that kind of magic, just a simple link, I think that clearly shows that she is not from the Fae. She's not magical. She doesn't come from a line. she could distantly come from a line of magical, powerful people,
She hasn't
but
been taught
she's
this,
not
though.
directly, involved with
Yeah.
magic.
Yeah,
So I
she
think that
definitely
rules
doesn't
out
have an
like
understanding of it.
anything about her being from the Fae. There's no, I cannot imagine a scenario where Bass would see a simple link and he would be flabbergasted by it. Just doesn't seem like this would be something a Fae creature would be thrown off by.
Yeah, and she's actually startled by, or at least really inquisitive about any kind of magic. She wants to know as much as she can learn, and she knows nothing.
Yeah, and it's the
far as we can
same. She
tell.
has the same kind of reaction when Kvothe starts a fire.
Yeah.
In Traben, she's thrown back. So it's multiple times where she's thrown back by just simple little fucking magic like that. Stuff that like David Copperfield can do, like that. Just simple, that simple magic, real magic that they can do.
Well, and it's also the way that it's written by Rothfuss. It does make clear she's not acting.
No,
you know what I'm saying. So that's kind of the point of what you read there in terms of how she reacts. Is it does show these are legitimate. She's legitimately surprised, legitimately shocked by what she's seeing.
Yeah,
and that's why she's also so inquisitive. Is now that she knows this exists, she's that type of person that wants to understand it. Which is, again, I mean, we've talked about that before. I think she would do great at the university because she is naturally motivated to understand these things, and she seems to be quite bright as well.
Yeah, I don't get the impression that she's just inquisitive. I think she has, just like Kvothe has a purpose with the Chandrian, I think she has a purpose. There's something that's leading her to, have all these questions. I don't think it's just that it's too specific and she's too disappointed by the answers.
No, that's a good point. No, that's a good point too.
For there not to be like an overriding purpose for why she wants this knowledge.
And she's also clearly motivated. She's waiting on them
Yeah.
to try to figure this out because she doesn't have other sources. And she's offering up multiple pieces of value in exchange. And she's like, she's placating them and hustling them to a degree in terms of obtaining the information as well. So, but clearly there's something behind it.
Yeah, I think there's something behind it. And I think the fact that, her nips are blown off, just like my nips would get blown off of, when, like someone like David Copperfield, shows that he can read minds and stuff like that, when he can guess your card, when he shows like real magic and blows my nips off, she gets the same exact experience when she sees real magic like that. But yeah, and then I love the scene where she's like, all right, I get, heat and light, but like, I don't get motion at all. And Sim jumps in with it's like, no, it's like friction. And he starts rubbing his leg under the table and looks like he's fucking jerking himself off.
Hey, despite that, I appreciated Sim showing that, like Will talking about the water wheel and the is it efficacy, like how it actually works, like the heat of it, not the joke of it's there, but the true to life thing where it's a transfer of energy. You create heat by rubbing your hands together. That's an energy. It creates heat. Heat can create light.
Yeah, that would have been the smart way to do it, is to just rub your hands together and
like
over
Mr.
the table
Miyagi.
Instead of mimicking fucking jerking it in front of a room full of people at a restaurant. But
that's pretty hilarious.
And I like Will's reaction. He just like covers his face and is like, "No, like I'm not with him. We're not together."
Well, and then he does actually like help him out with like it's actually a good point. And then he talks about the hub of a wagon wheel being warm to the touch and how friction. He goes on to explain it without looking like he's spanking it.
He's shows like, okay, so the same way that friction can create heat, we can do it in reverse. We can turn the heat into motion. And so she's disappointed when she sees it. And I guess it goes further. Like, he shows her the wine. He takes a drop of the wine, puts it on the hearth, and then makes the wine in his cup boil, which, all blows her nips off a second time. And then
that
Will,
was pretty chilling because Will does say, "Imagine that's someone's blood." And you're like, "Oh shit!" Or that's why Arcanist or something.
You don't want an Arcanist to get a drop of your blood.
Yeah, and you're just like,
and then like Sim's like, he's like, "Come on, no one would ever do that. And that's called malfeasance." She's like, "Well, then why do you have a name for it?"
Yeah, but now that now that you've heard it, Debbie would do it. Like, Debbie would do it with Kvothe. It makes it a reality.
I don't necessarily think she would unless she had to, but some people would. Yeah, for sure. Like, some people would.
It's very important that he puts it in the book just to suggest it to us.
Yeah.
Because if we haven't considered this, think about that. Right. I mean, and
it sets up like in a handful of chapters when Ambrose starts doing it to him, like, and he starts fucking boiling his blood.
Yeah, I mean, and it's I need those types of things because my mind's not just going to go there. You know, that's one of the things with when they go when the three I was mentioning to earlier, when the three of them are just plotting to do something that's relatively simple, which is just 2 lookouts and Kvothe with a stick in each pocket, and they're going to help signal them. Pretty simple, but highly effective, and it's a simple application of sympathy in the sense of just, I mean, it's almost like having a pager in a way, but yeah, it's those types of things you start to think, then that instructs your imagination, and then just go kind of down that route of like, what could they do?
Yeah.
What could somebody do with this type of, power?
Yeah. And, the one aspect of it that always irritates me is like Will just matter-of-factly states when he first like lifts a coin up in the air, and he's like, and if you want to stop the stop the link, all you have to do is just stop believing it. And he's like, you just stop believing it, and it just stops being so.
It goes right back to that.
It's like, yes, exactly.
Yeah, that was the note.
The fucking hole in book 1.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm sure I didn't think of it the first time, obviously, but when I read it this time, Dan, you led me down that path that made me go, "This is the hole.
Yeah,
this is where it all falls apart."
The fact that he just matter-of-factly states all you have to do is stop believing,
is let go.
Then that whole scene makes no sense.
Yeah, I now know why you think that. What made you even think of that, Dan? Because they even go further in describing it as more like strength of will. And she's like, "Well, why don't you call it strength of will? Alar sounds better. If we don't have impressive sounding names for things, no one would take us seriously," which they do. That there's a little callback within the chapter, which works great to Denna's cleverness. But yeah, I had the same note where it's like, well, there's a problem, and then it comes up again. When we get back to Alar and the focus. Where was the Alar in my mind provides the focus and direction. So when they're giving like, why doesn't the wine boil in both? Because he's directing it.
Yeah.
So if he's directing it, he can also misdirect it, right? He can let it go. There we have the problems with
is due to a focus.
Yeah.
Specifically.
So again, it comes back to that where it's what we've done is, or what we've sort of teased out is the idea that he's clenching his fist so hard he can't let go. So that's like the problem with binding his lungs to the air outside. But then again, why doesn't Ben tell him? That's kind of the whole thing that we drove at there. And that's not it though. It's also the problem with like, why doesn't he de-pants the Dracus? Or
Well, I think they do. He starts to, in this book, give reasons why you might not be able to do some of the things I suggest as far as like utilizing bad links. And they talk about it in this chapter with the slippage. When she's like, where does the where's the extra energy go?
She's like, yeah, Will's like,
and he's like, some goes into the object, some goes in the air,
Some goes into the person.
some goes into
Some
the
binders
person,
goes.
and he's like, that can get dangerful. And Simon
dangerous.
just fucking, actuallys him again. It's dangerous.
Well, this one's actually helpful for someone who's wanting to learn the language, but yeah.
Yeah, okay, nerd.
Well, shit, man. No, I do like her. Well, isn't that hard? And it's like, yeah, it is. Kvothe's a bit of show off, and then Sim's like, that's why I've been so quiet. I didn't know you could hold 4 bindings at once. That's impressive as hell. And then Kvothe's like, well, I can actually do 5 if I need to. And then
Actually,
yeah, and he ends up doing like 6 against Devi, and then he claims he's even stronger at it later on. Yeah, and then I love and Sim smiles at Denna, and he's like, one more thing, watch this. He pointed at the floating piece of chalk. Nothing happened. Come on, Sim said plaintively. I'm trying to show her something. Then show her, I said smugly, leaning back in my chair. That's 100%. I would do that. Like, if someone was like, here, watch this. If I could prevent them from doing that, I would 100% prevent them from doing it.
yeah.
I remember like I went to a some ladies that were trying to sell magnets as like this medical cure-all, and like they did this thing where they're like, all right, hold your arms out wide, and then she would pull down on your arms. And this is like a lady that's probably like 50 years old, and I'm like 20, 21. And so when she tries to pull down my arms, it was very difficult to keep them up, but she was like red-faced, struggling to pull my arms down, and I was fighting with everything I had to prevent her from pulling down my arms. And then because I was trying to demonstrate how big of a scam this was, because I even said the only reason I went was like, I was like, these people are fucking, fucking running a pyramid scheme, man. And then, so when she was like trying to pull my arms down, I wouldn't fucking let her, and she's red faced, and then like she's like, all right, now hold magnets, and then she's just barely touching my arms. It's like, wonder why your face isn't red right now. And then I even
pull your arms down.
I even went into like, before I'd ever got into sales, I was going into sales mode, and she would like say something, and I'd be like, so like how much money are you in debt from this? And she'd talking, and I'd be like, but like, how much money are you in debt? Like, how much money do you got to make back before you're out of debt? And then eventually they just opened up, and they're like I'm like 10 grand in debt, and da 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 da. And it's like, yeah, it's a fucking pyramid scheme. Told you guys.
Yeah, that's just how you become a motivated salesperson.
Yeah.
Oh, I got duped. Well, now I got to dupe some other people.
But yeah, that whole not letting Sim fucking knock down his coin, that's 100% my personality. There's no way I would let anybody do it. They'd have to earn it.
I do like where it goes as far as Will has to step in and also help. And then when finally it falls, Sim just like, dude, you're creepy, man.
Yeah. They can't get the last one.
Yeah.
And Denna's like, so your Alara is stronger than theirs put together? Probably not, I said graciously. I love that he adds in, I said graciously, because he's like, yeah, no, it's not.
No, you mean it is. His is stronger.
Oh, yeah. But said that backwards. But yeah.
But he did go as far as, if they had practice working together, they could probably beat me. But yeah, he's basically
he's like, no, not really.
I'm fucking.
He's like, they could if they work together, and he's like turning whispering, like, no, they couldn't. They ain't got shit on me.
Oh shit! But yeah, it's great. I mean, the whole way it plays out is fantastic. And again, this is what we talked about earlier. It's a bit of an info dump, but it's done in such a great way where you're also weaving in Denna's interest, along with we're seeing how much we're seeing in real action how much more powerful Kvothe is, or how much better he is at it than two other people. I mean, there's so many things happening.
Yeah.
That are,
you get
that are
the
accomplished throughout.
re-explanation of magic. You get a better explanation of slippage. You get how powerful Kvothe is. You get the fact that Denna is clearly not familiar with magic, and she's clearly there's something going on. She's got some kind of reason why she desperately wants magic, and she wants a specific type of magic, a special kind of magic. Like the sympathy did not interest her, and singledry did not interest her. And like when she figured out the mechanics of it, she's like, nope, not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for something different. So like you get a lot of information in this chapter.
The biggest takeaway for me was, the realization of how in depth Denna's cunning is.
Yeah.
And not just how much, how smart she is, what she's really out for. She's very intelligent.
Yeah, even on when after they're done and Will's like, we were promised drinks and and secrets, and she tells him, the one dude's into Kvothe, and she's like, but I can send Diak over there to distract him. Someone's like, oh, what's he gonna do? Juggle? It's like, you kidding me? And I love just like he's just flabbergasted, but he's such a fucking pimp. He's got fucking all the women fucking slobbering over him. Like, what do you mean? It's like switch hitting, man. It's like some dudes fucking got power at both sides of the plate. What do you want?
I love how Denna explaining bisexual interest is like a transfer of energy.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's pretty great, man. It's pretty fantastic, man.
Yeah, that's a fucking great way to throw it back in his face. And, I like their stupid lines like, what do you, small wonder he's a basha. He is attractive enough, will hesitate or frown. Basha. What is a word for that here? A man who is intimate with both women and men. Lucky, Denna suggested. Tired. Ambidextrous. Ambisextrous, I corrected. That won't do.
I like that one.
If we don't have impressive sounding names for things, no one will take us seriously. Ambisextrous is perfect. That's perfect.
Good one. Yep.
She didn't like it. She's like, nope. Although she, instead of suggesting another name, she just made fun of Sam.
Double jointed.
Friction.
Joint. Double jointed.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah. I think that pretty much covers everything for me on that chapter. I don't think I have anything else.
Yeah. I think that covers it for me.
Yeah, me too. Chapter 19 then is titled Gentlemen and Thieves. In this chapter, Denna and Kvothe leave the Aeolian together. As the two walk and talk, Denna explains her current situation with gentlemen callers, how she can scam men out of money with the help of dishonest pawn shop owners, and why Ambrose is currently in possession of her favorite ring. Guys?
Yeah, this is the most friend-zoned aspect of Kvothe in both books. Like the fact that, the conversation lulled and silence swelled between us. I couldn't help but think of her walking arm in arm with Ambrose. I didn't want to know any more about her, but at the same time, it was the only thing in my head. Like the fact that he's so consumed by, he's constantly around her with other men, but now with her, with Ambrose, it's like she got with, his ultimate enemy, and now he's just consumed by it, and it's completely throwing him off his game.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it was interesting to find out that she has come to the university looking for him on at least one occasion.
Yeah.
I had not realized that, and she mentioned it. It's kind of interesting to picture her showing up there and just, looking around for old Kvothe.
Yeah, I mean, she's into him. She looks for him. She tries to find him. Yeah. She leaves notes for him. She's obviously in the scenario where she was looking out for all three of them here, it was just mentioned just a second ago. That's for a purpose, but she also looks for Kvothe just to spend time with him.
Well, and obviously she doesn't do that with anyone else, and he
No.
knows that.
Yeah.
And the fact that he still can't see it, he's so caught up in his own feelings of like ineptitude that he just, it's blinding him.
So I'm curious how much weight you guys lend to the fact that Ambrose may be doing this on purpose. That he specifically, and I don't know, I don't know, but I at least know that I at least think it might be a possibility that Ambrose is a bigger player, or at least smarter, and hates Kvothe more than we think that he might.
I don't think that's the case, because if he was doing it on purpose, he surely would have rubbed it in his face, and he never does.
Yeah, that's a good point. That gives me some solace.
Because that's not something he would. I mean, we see how much he tries to rub shit in Kvothe's face. Like, he definitely would have rubbed Denna in his face.
I mean, even like the plumb bob is the biggest example, because that's some serious shit, and he did not have to do that.
No, it fucked up his game. Like, he should have just not said anything, not did anything, and then that would have screwed Kvothe up. But the fact that he did have to rub it in his face is what tipped Kvothe off that something was wrong.
Well, and that also tells you that he would.
Yeah,
because it revealed all of it. Because without that, Kvothe would have gone to admissions and made an ass of himself, and who knows what would have happened. So it's. I think that's. I did have an interesting feeling about when she talks about that's just his way, the patron, that he's a secretive sword, he'll just disappear for long stretches. That speaks of Braden to a great degree in terms of what we experience with Kvothe and Braden, where he's just gone for a while, and it's kind of it's mysterious as to where he went or what he did. There's no real explanation. Like, I don't know, it just made me think of that when I read it.
Yeah, and just like when Kvothe mentions that he could see about getting her a different patron, and she's like, it's sweet that you think I deserve better, but I really don't. And I think it shows a very much a mirroring of Kvothe's problem, is they both have some kind of self-esteem problem. They're clearly extremely badass fucking people that are extremely capable, adept at many different things. She's really good at music. She's a fucking hustler. She's very observant. She's able to intermingle with, high nobility, and she can be broke and be getting a ride out of fucking town on a boat the same day when she's, hung over and not had a change of clothes or anything, like no ability to get all cleaned up. She's still fucking hustling. She needs to learn how to play the harp. She hooks up with a dude that can teach her to play the harp. She wants to find out secret magic. She gets hooked up with a patron that can teach her secret magic. Like, she's very capable, but her opinion of herself is very low, in the same way that it's low with Kvothe. I mean, they mirror each other in so many ways, where that's why I could see Rothfuss going down the path that whatever her mission is, that it could ultimately be that she's the heroic figure that, ends up like sacrificing herself or doing something heroic, where it's, you're getting the hero's tale told from Kvothe, but it's really about Denna. I could easily see that that's the story. I don't know that it is the story that's being told, but I could easily see that's the way the story's going, just on how much they mirror each other.
Well, you mentioned that in the last episode, Dan. It was the first time, I think it was the last episode, and it's the first time I heard about it. And the further we go on, the more that it makes sense that might be the case. And also, I'll add to it that, as I did before, that because she had a different take on Lanray, that actually Kvothe and Denna could be at odds. That the people who are backing, maybe that the people who are backing Denna and leading her along by the nose are actually the is it the Adem?
No,
And the Emir. The Emir.
It seems like it would be more along the line she might be being led by the Chandrian, whereas Kvothe's being led by the Emir and Angels.
Well, it's a good versus evil type of.
Yeah,
it's a good. Which side is right, which side is wrong, and there's a lot of confusion around that right now.
Yeah, the fact that it seems like the Angels, at least, and the Emir, it seems like the Angels and the Emir are heavily involved with Kvothe, and it could be that. That's why I would think it would be more interesting if Braden is her patron, because of the fact that you could throw in a wild card that he's not necessarily working for the Angels or the Emir or the Chandrian. Maybe he's like, the Machiavellian type of character that is playing his own game. He's got his own thing going on, and he's using this girl for whatever his ultimate purpose is. And you could just go into such an interesting route with it, with Kvothe's relationship with him and his relationship with Denna. It would be, to me, that would be so much more interesting than she's actually being led by the nose by the Chandrian.
That's kind of the clincher for me on why I prefer the theory that Braden is the patron. It just leads to more interesting, as far as I can foresee it, a more interesting story arc. Obviously, Rothfuss can write something that's going to be awesome if it's Cinder, or awesome if it's going to be whoever. But I what I can foresee, or what we've sort of connected loosely, it seems like Braden would be, it leads to the most interesting possibilities, in terms of where it can go. Plus, it fits on the little details. And that's the key. That's all we have. Yeah. That's what we have, are those little details to make those assumptions based on it. And yeah, I prefer that.
It makes it more realistic that, there is a gray area. Everything's not black and white.
Yeah.
If Braden is not on the side of the Chandrian, not on the side of the Angels, and leading Denna along, and she is the hero, or Kvothe still could be the hero, but there's at least a gray area. There's at least something in there that's not for sure.
One of the really cool things about this chapter is how much it does build out Denna, makes her so much more real, because she's not, she's a pretty girl, and she's fun to be around, and she's clever and all those things. But man, there's some dirt in there. She's had to do this by the skin of her teeth, so to speak.
I'm actually,
what's that?
I'm pretty sure she's butt ugly and just always writes in her hair beautiful, so that Kvothe thinks that she's beautiful.
Everybody thinks she's fucking smoking hot.
It's the ears.
Yeah,
her ears.
She's got them.
She writes it in her hair.
Yeah, she's got them. Ugly. She's got them
craggly
fucking
lips,
sexy ass ears, man. You cannot discount those.
What if it turns out like there's a fayish thing going on, and what she has is literally the same haircut as Princess Leia?
Yeah,
and her ears are just cinnamon buns, and everybody's just like, "Oh my god, look at her!"
Yeah, they make the movie, but it's like cinnamon bun ears, but like literally cinnamon buns for her ears.
It's some illish knot trick, and no one can tell.
Yeah,
fast feet.
Yeah,
she has Shaden.
Like her ears are just so sexy.
But
that's why she's got that. That's why she's got that. She's self-conscious. She's got these giant cinnamon buns for ears, but everybody else sees like fucking these perfect ears.
She's sitting in the aioli and like, hey guys, like, do you know about this magic that deals with like baking and using cinnamon or anything. She's got these big cinnamon buns on her ears. They're like, no, I never heard of that. That's not got nothing to do with the university.
Yeah. Good. Thank God they don't see it.
One flaw in that theory is she smells like dirt and sweat. She doesn't smell like cinnamon buns.
That's true.
She's working in the Jack in the Box, man. That is absorbing all the smell.
Yeah. Got it.
It's overpowering it.
Interesting. Well, then she's got those long walks out of the Fae, you know?
Yeah. And
dirt and sweaty.
I like the fact that, you know, it talks about how Jeffrey, he's just a total sucker and is getting scammed, and it shows that she'll do what she needs to do to survive. I mean, she's clearly like, a lot of people don't like her. One of the aspects they don't like about her is that she is a bit grimy. She will do some dirty shit.
Realistic, man.
But
realistic, and also, well, to your point of her. So the whole reason why I brought that up is, if she's going to be a hero, the hero has to have grime.
Yeah,
the hero can't just be some fucking princess that just is being lofted up. I mean, it doesn't work that way. I mean, it's not. Well,
it's you hear the same complaints about her and Kvothe, and I to me, I just think they're looking for a much less interesting story. They want black and white. They want black and white, and look, because so like they'll be like with Kvothe, like, you know, the people will say he's a Mary Sue, like, you know, everything he does is right, but then you'll hear other people complain like, oh, he's an arrogant bastard, and, you know, he'll you know, he'd ride a horse to death, and, you know, he'll do all these dirty things, and like, so it's like, well, he can't be both, you know, he can't be flawed and a fucking Mary Sue. But the people who are like, you know, that don't like the flaws, it's like, no, that the flaws are what make the
rounds them out.
Well, the flaws make the principle stand out. Like the fact that he is loyal and
that's how
he cares, and but he will do. He's had you cannot have an upbringing like Kvothe had, and his whole family got wiped out, and he then lived on the street where he was treated like shit for 3 years, and like the prime upbringing years where you're gonna develop who you're gonna be, like these prime years, he was on the streets, treated like shit. That's gonna leave some scars. That's gonna leave some fucking dirt under the nails. But he still is ultimately a good person. He tries to do the right thing. He's just willing to do what he's got to do to survive. And you get the same feel from Denna. She's willing to do what she's got to do to survive. But like when they talk about like, what if the guy shows up and he's honest? And she's like, yeah, that, then, you know, I had to work something out where I don't screw over someone like that. You know, I'm only trying to screw over the people who would be willing to screw me over.
Yeah, both of them, when it comes down to it, they're good people. But what I was going to say, though, as far as I'm concerned, when I read what is quality writing and you have a character that's always good, they're going to be sacrificed. That's how it works. When you have a character that's always the good character, it's a utility. There's a tool there, and the way you use that tool is they get killed, and that's how you get the theme out of it. I mean, what's the other point?
Yeah,
there's a super innocent person that you could be that person, yet this person isn't. So relatively speaking, Kvothe's a piece of shit, or Denna's a piece of shit. If there's this person who's this super innocent, great person, you know, like Aelif's the fucking hero. I've never read anything about Aelif other than his name.
I don't want to read. I don't want to read like a story about Ned Flanders' life. I mean, it's just boring.
So speaking of the realism of
Homer Simpson.
Howdy ho.
Yeah.
The Ned Flanders story.
Speaking of the realism of it, did you guys pick up on in this chapter? Denna actually really likes Jeffrey. She every time Kvothe brings her up in kind of like a jealous way or just to like talk shit, she sighs and like
sounds like a little brother type situation.
Yeah.
She
yeah,
likes
100%.
him.
She wants to take care of him. She wants to protect him from the world. She sees him as innocent and naive. She like sees him as a good person that's innocent and naive, and she wants to protect him from the world. And she ultimately does. I mean, she ends up selling her necklace to, she not only that shows you how like good of a person she is like she sees Kvothe has a loot case in this chapter, and you also have Jeffrey who's boxed himself in a corner. And she's got her little nest egg that she can use to get herself out of a corner. And what does she use it for? She uses it to get Jeffrey home and to buy Kvothe a ridiculously expensive loot case. I mean, that's not a bad person. That's a person who she's going above and beyond to treat the people that are important to her extremely well.
But what about and the girl? The girl in the alley.
Yeah. She protects her. Like, I mean, she's not.
She puts her own life on the line.
Yeah.
To protect this girl. And
she's not a straight edge character, but she wouldn't. She couldn't exist in this world as a straight edge character given her circumstances.
It's too brutal. But then, I mean, she even goes out to further that point. She even goes out of her way to sit the girl down and explain. All right, so this is how it's going to be. If this is what you want to do, this is what you're going to have to do. And she, well, maybe it'll be like, no, it's not going to be like that. So, she's given her the raw truth, which again, I can understand how certain readers would be like, well, I don't like that about her. She's kind of mean. Like, dude, it's the real world, man. Yeah. And she's helping this girl realize that the world can be fucking brutal. And if you're going to live like starry eyes, like this is some fucking romance novel, you're going to be taken advantage of, and you're going to end up penniless in an alley.
Yeah.
And that's probably what's going to happen to this girl if someone like Denna isn't looking out for her. That's a good person.
If she didn't have some rough edges, she's just getting, raped, over and over again until she's dead in an story, man. I mean, that's just what her existence would be with no money, no family, nobody to protect her. Like, she's living a shithole life.
And then what would that character end up looking like? They're not going to be super positive and interesting, and they're going to be sad. They're going to be probably violent with anyone that's around them because they turn into like a feral creature. Because what would you expect?
Yeah.
If you're going to write it realistically, that's where I don't understand. I get the critiques, but that's where I don't understand it. It feels half measured. If you're really figuring like what's so interesting about a book, man, like make the characters interesting, make them flawed. What do you want? You want everybody to be fucking Yoda? Like, I don't know what people are looking for. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just strange to me.
If you have a someone who's always happy, and it reminds me of Full Metal Jacket when the guy comes into to boot camp. And he's always smiling and has a real happy outlook on life. And when reality hits him, what ends up happening to him? He goes crazy and ends up killing himself. Because it's not all sunshine and roses. It's, anyway.
Yeah,
Rothfuss does such a great job.
It makes more sense where like Sim is a very happy-go-lucky, naive character. And that makes sense for him. Because he lives in a situation where he has a family that has wealth that can back him up, and he's got options. He's got many options. If you're living on the streets and you're by yourself and you got no one you can turn to, like, you're gonna have a different outlook on life. You're gonna see the darker side of the world, where so you cannot create a Ned Flanders from that scenario. Like, so it's going to be a different character if it's going to be realistic.
And in this story, told from the perspective of Simon, is not as interesting as told from the perspective of Kvothe telling his own story.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like it's what do you? Yeah, that's where I'm like, what? Why would you want that? Why is that like a major critique that someone would want to take on?
I think a lot of it is like they want like Kvothe's love interest to be like the perfect girl from him, and they don't like the fact that he's hitched his wagon to someone who's just like him, who's extremely flawed and has same type of issues, and so it's frustrating that they don't connect. They
you guys are asking
feel like
for,
they should.
Less tension.
Yeah,
you want less tension.
Yeah, but good,
consistent rise,
smooth sailing,
but really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, at this point in the story, if Denna would just give up all her other Johns, all the guys that she's paying that are paying to have sex with her, and
no one is paying.
Kvothe.
Hold on. She is not a prostitute.
We've talked about
there is nobody. It's not like guys could walk up to her and be like, "Here's a gold royal. Fucking let's go." Fucking
no, they gotta say,
"Oh,
here's
room.
a gold necklace and stay in my hotel room."
Yeah,
it's the same thing.
Yeah,
it's not the same thing.
She's
it's not the same
courtesan. Like that's like sitting there saying, some lady giving Hummers in a back alley is the same as like some supermodel fucking clinging on to some billionaire. And it's like, no, there's a different dynamic. They're both using their body and that kind of stuff, but there's a much different dynamic. And she explains it.
Tomato.
She explains it so well when she talks to that girl. She's like, look, you can be like a low-class prostitute, or you can be someone that they bring out on dates and they show off, and, it's a totally different dynamic.
Well, one of the things I did also like in this chapter is the hobo code. When they show they show the door jam.
Yeah.
The door jam. So the knots on the door, which shows, so the guy here will trade and he's fair, blah, blah, blah. So that exists in our world where you mark, the entrance to certain places, and there's markings that show this person, like, you don't want to stay here because this guy's going to, is dishonest or whatever. And that exists in our world. Or at least probably did much more so back in the day when just traveling by the train.
What's the other book? Is it Of Mice and Men when they talk about that?
I think that might be included in Of Mice and Men. I'm not sure.
Anyway, I don't personally, I don't know this, but from reading, I know this thing to be a reality because it comes up enough in books that there's like a hobo's code. I really like the idea of this.
No, it's almost identical to what she's talking about, where it's knots on a door. It's like you put it by a sign, or the fence post out front of the house. They put little notches, so where you literally could read it and be like, the guy here's a fucking pedophile.
Yeah, this guy's a jerk or whatever.
Yeah, so you know who you're dealing with, which is pretty great when you consider that. I mean, it's a code. It's a bunch of people that are living either by the train or however they're getting around by foot, and they're looking out for one another in that way.
Yeah,
so it's kind of cool because I don't know if there's another, if it's sort of emphasized anywhere else in these books, but yeah, I thought it was cool. True to life, as Fitz likes to say.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it's like when you look up the sex offender registry and you see that you're surrounded by them, no matter where you live.
Yeah, that's insane.
It's the exact same thing.
That is a wild. I remember doing that and just
that's like
what the fuck.
That's why it's like you guys got to stop putting people that like pissed at a public school.
Yeah.
At the same category, because like now the whole everybody is a sex offender, so now it's meaningless.
Or who knows, man? It could be like some guys in a hot tub at a party, and the party gets busted, and he's a sex offender now or something. I mean, you think it's got to be something like that when you see like the radius around you. Like, are you kidding me? There's fucking 85 people within this zip code. Like, this can't be true. What the fuck? It's like, I know I'm in a densely populated city, but Jesus, man.
I think the opposite, and I get my kids and I keep them in one room all day long. I do not let anybody out of the house. I'm like,
is that why you went to the? Is that why you went to the
all
convention?
Around, kids. Just stay in here.
Is that your alibi on why you go to the convention, the pedophile convention, so you know what to look out for?
Yeah, you got to know what to look out for.
Fitz like finds out the closest one to him and just sits outside of his house, and every time he walks out, he just paintballs him, like to fucking mark him up.
Keep it moving.
I know. Leave that on you. Don't fucking take that paint off. We have to know who you are.
Everybody see him? He's leaving his house. Where's he going? You know?
Fitz just in a rocking chair on his porch. Keep it moving, fuckface. Everyone that walks by.
We all know who you are. We're all watching you.
It's like, I know I got a baby face, but I'm a grown man. Stop looking at me like that. Oh man. But yeah. So another aspect I like is the fact that Denna is, she just matter-of-factly, talks about this stuff, and then Kvothe's like, yeah, like they had that in Tarbean, where if you wanted to bring questionably acquired goods, and Denna doesn't remark on it at all. And then when Kvothe's like, so how do you know about this? She's like, I'm talking, I read it in a book. She's like, what do you think? What do you think? Why would you even ask that? And like, she knows full well that, like, she knows Kvothe has had to do some dirty shit to the point where she's surprised he doesn't know what the markings is. She's surprised she had to explain what the rook is. And Kvothe is like dancing around it. She just assumes.
You get the sense that Kvothe, that Denna is so much more street smart than Kvothe.
Yeah, like, I mean, like, as street smart as he is, she's above that level. Like, which I think shows that, like, her upbringing had to be rough, because she's an attractive girl that does not have magical ability, and so
also
it had to
she
be
didn't have
not that Kvothe had his magical abilities when he was in Tarbean, but that she was a girl and she probably had to live a little harder than he did.
Yeah, I mean, like, just like
whatever that's worth.
He had to see
she's smarter than he is.
Kids getting raped and shit on the streets. I'm sure if she's living on the streets, she's experiencing that horrid aspect of life to a much greater degree, being who she is.
Yeah, I feel like she's smarter. She's more manipulative than he is.
Yeah.
I think that's what we're speaking of.
She's better at it. I mean, he's very manipulative, but she's better at it.
Well, her road has been harder, which has made her have to be more harsh about it and more realistic about it. So she approaches things, and that's why she's so much more careful, it seems, as well. She has to be. She doesn't have a choice. She's got to keep everybody at arm's length. She can't sit in one place for too long.
She's also better at finding out information that she wants.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, she's super interesting. I mean, these two chapters further lay that on how interesting and there's so much more depth to what's going on with her character than you might initially, because initially you're thinking she's just his love interest. And then you realize, like, no, she's doing something. Like, there's clearly something going on in the background that something happened to her, and she's trying to gain power and ability to rectify something that happened. Like, she's got the ring, and she's like, that ring is like clearly some kind of momentum, whatever you would call it. Yeah. And so she's got that. Like, there's clearly something that happened that drastic. I mean, I don't think it's just like she was born in a from a bad family and just had a bad. I think something horrific happened, just like something horrific happened to Kvothe.
I really hope that as this, Tim, you make fun of us for wanting things to be polished over, but I really, really hope that Denna likes Kvothe for who he is and is not manipulating him for whatever reason.
She does. She clearly does.
I really hope so. I hope
she is so thrown off when he doesn't like her song, and she is like, she even said, I thought you were different. I didn't think you were like the other fucking dudes, but you're just the same. You want to fucking save me. You want to change me. And so she clearly sees him differently. I mean, she acts differently with him compared to the other dudes.
Yeah, I think so. But
what the fuck would she going just from Denna's a hustler? What the fuck would she be clinging on to Kvothe for when he's got nothing?
If her patron is saying, "Look, you need to."
She was like that before she got her patron, though.
I know. I'm just saying, like it's still a possibility that she's being used to bring Kvothe along.
Like we see, like from the very first time they interact in that that traveling group when they're heading to the university, like with Kvothe, she's just hanging out with him, enjoying his company, having a good time, and then once she sees like a mark, she goes off and is manipulating that guy.
Yeah,
she doesn't do that with Kvothe.
Well, and what's funny about that too is she kind of like she did it for both of them. She's like, she's even willing. Like she's like, I already talked to him. Like you could fucking teach him how to play his lute that he carries around, that he thinks he knows what to do with. Like she clearly, I mean, she establishes in the very beginning that she's down for Kvothe. Well, I mean, she's always looking.
I think so too.
Yeah,
I hope so.
It's consistent. It's very consistent with that.
She writes him letters when she's in Gil. Yeah. She's writing him letters, and
right. But the fact that whoever's leading her has led her to the opposite beliefs on Lanray makes you think that whoever's leading them both, or each one of them, is at odds. And so if they're leading them in any way together, I don't know. That's really
where I think Rothfuss has the room to make the story a masterpiece, and the dynamic with her patron. If he writes it in a way, whether it's Cinder or Braden or whatever, if he writes that in the right way, the dynamic with Kvothe and her patron and her, like how all that could kind of tear apart and break apart could be just so, he's got so much room to make that so interesting.
Well, whatever he does do is going to be that.
I'm sure.
So what if
I can't wait.
What if the person pulling the strings all along is Elodin, and at the end he's like, surprise.
Yeah, just wanted to.
Sorry, you had to go through that, Kvothe.
Just was trying to teach you a little lesson, son.
Where's Mom? Oh no, she's dead.
Yeah,
we did that.
I murdered her.
No, we did that. That we couldn't fake.
That was real.
Sorry, I mean you needed to learn a lesson.
But look, I'm here.
You remember when I told you to pick up your clothes? Well, now you know the consequences.
Hey, the Chandrian like clean rooms. And as I recall, you never had a clean room, Kvothe. I told you over and over again, I hope you learned your lesson.
Yeah. It's like the Arrested Development he'd have the guy with the fake arm, like when they didn't put a note to replace the milk, and so they drive in a car and a guy like hits the car and splatters blood everywhere and then comes walking up with his arm off, and they're all they're little kids in the car, they're screaming, and he's like, He's like, oh, if only someone had left a note that we needed to get milk. And then they realize it's just one of his coworkers who doesn't have an arm. That's a fucking legendary scene.
Like always leave a note.
He takes these just like minor little fucking life lessons, and he uses this guy that has no arm to lose his arm in the most dramatic way. That's fucking hilarious.
That's pretty funny.
That is hilarious. Arrested Development.
Yeah.
There was one other thing in this chapter that I thought was pretty good, where Kvothe makes a little move unintentionally.
Oh yeah.
To get in one of those completely pockets.
And completely backtracks.
He could have completely. But he could have done this all. He's got the cloak. He's got all the pockets. There's so many things in there. Oh, all of a sudden I need my dried apple, or I need a wire for my.
Well, she clearly did not like it. She immediately is like, ah.
You think he tried to honk her? That maybe he really honked her, Tim? He was like, oh, let me get in here. Give her a little side swipe. Honk, honk.
She's as on edge as he is. I mean, like, he goes to stick his hand in a pocket and she fucking flips out. Like, fucking, it reminds me of like when Sim walks up on Kvothe after he comes out of on the horns for the first time. And Sim walks up behind him and Kvothe like fucking flips out and is like ready to scratch his fucking eyes out. It's like, don't sneak up on me. Like Denna's like, don't fucking reach in my pockets, dude. You know, fucking, dude, I stab people for that.
Can we talk about how nerdy it is that Kvothe's like, oh, my case, my loot case is broken. Let me get in here. I got some wire. He reaches into that pocket to get a little bale of wire.
Well, it would have been nerdier if he reaches into his own pocket, pulls it out, but instead he's reaching into the pocket which he so nobly, right, chivalrously put upon his woman who was a little chilly. So he had one of the 74
pockets in his.
Dude, he throws her so many mixed signals. Like her signals are pretty clear. His signals are so mixed. Like he's so fucking like wussed out in that scenario, like where he could have just been like, hey, settle down, Jumpy. And instead he's, oh, I'm so sorry, I would never do that. I would never do that. And it's like, no, yes you would if you could get away with it, you would definitely do it. So why are you fucking acting like you wouldn't? Yeah, I think that pretty much covers that. I think, next week we got Kvothe's going to try to rob Ambrose. He's going to get all jacked up, and then he gets all hot and sweaty with Kelvin in his yoga class, and passes out from doing hot yoga. And super hot. Yeah, I don't know how much further we'll get. I guess there's another Elxadal class, and he's going to see Elxadal call the Name of Fire. I don't know how much further we'll get beyond that. But a lot of it, and then after that, it's Ambrose starts to get hot flashes. He starts to go through menopause and gets hot flashes, and Ambrose is putting the menopause on him.
Would you say that? I'm pretty sure Elxadal also a big Hall & Oates guy.
No, Elxadal's definitely listening to like hardcore metal. He looks like fucking Jafar from Aladdin. That dude is definitely listening to like hardcore, like the rah, rah, rah. He's listening to that kind of
death metal,
hardcore fucking scream metal.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know any references. I was going to name some, but I can't think of them in the moment.
Yeah, I don't.
You mean like Steely Dan?
Yes. Yep. Steely Dan hardcore metal.
Steely Dan. That's one I haven't used yet.
See, I've even brought that up, that I'm surprised you haven't used Steely Dan.
I hate Steely Dan, to tell you the truth. But
I don't even know it. I know their name, but I don't know what their songs are.
Oh yeah, let's just tell Alexa to play some Steely Dan. You'll know most of the songs, Dan. And you'll be
Yeah,
like,
it is
"No
one of
wonder-
those that you know.
Why don't I
most of the
know these
songs, yeah.
guys? I love these guys now that I know that their name is Dan and they have all these hits."
You know what? Instead, just listen to "Rich Girl" by Hall & Oates. It's a good one. She's a
I'm a
rich
rich
girl.
girl.
Too far.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Well, we just fucking shit the bed
It's a
right
bitch,
there. Went down a rabbit hole with fucking no exit.
One too many.
What do you think? What do you think Hem listens to? It's got to be just fucking whack as poop shit, right?
I bet he
What
listens
would
to
Hem
classical, but he doesn't
listen
like it.
to? Yeah, he'd be very pretentious. He would
Super pretentious.
he would like he would be like if you were like, oh, I'm a huge fan of Mozart because he says he likes classical music, and he'd be like, Mozart, typical.
No, whatever it would be the first song or the first album of any artist, and be like, oh, I only like the first thing they did. After that, it was all just bullshit.
Yeah.
Way too commercialized.
Yeah,
after
he's
the first
definitely one of
album.
those, like, as soon as someone becomes popular, it's like, sell out.
Yeah, fuck that guy. No, just the first album.
He
That's all I listened
was
to.
so good when he was underground. Now he's a fucking sellout.
Yeah, everything else was compromised. Just his uncompromised music is what I like.
I used to watch him at the Aeolian when nobody knew who he was.
Bach's first album was good, and then he just fucking sold out. Be like fucking that guy, except for that guy with like old school classical music. Yeah, that's definitely him.
Yeah,
Either
that'd
that
be him.
or fucking he's just nothing but fucking Hanson. Like it makes no sense.
Or just shits on music. Music so pedestrian.
Yeah, it's more like him. He'd be like, I hate music. I don't get it. Doesn't make any sense. Like it's so
if
annoying.
you think about it,
Like
if you think about it, it really just insists on itself with all the sounds and noises.
Yeah.
I mean, geez,
Hey,
tighten up.
all those
Like,
noises.
such a weird
like, dude,
distortion
just
of
settle
communication.
down.
Yeah, check your enthusiasm.
Yeah.
Jesus, get real. Do you know there's suffering in the world? Actually, I don't know if he'd go there.
It'd be my
I don't know
favorite.
if he'd take it.
Him would be the
what
first
is
person you'd be
dance,
asked, like, what kind of
actually?
music do you like?
Gyrations?
Music. Gross. I hate music. You would, buddy.
Yeah.
You would, you douchebag.
He is the ultimate hater. No matter what you say, he'd just be like, "You're such an idiot." Music, fucking idiot. You need that? Oh,
Yeah.
do you need that? You need those sounds
Yeah.
to feel better?
Fucking douchebag.
But then what? When he's by himself, he's like,
That's even better. He insists that he hates music, but in secret he listens to nothing but pop music.
He gets back
It's
home
his
and he's
guilty
like,
pleasure.
He
has it. But he turns it so far down just to deprave
Yeah.
himself, so he doesn't. No one can know. It has it all the way down. Just he's super into it.
it's Britney,
fuck.
bitch.
Yeah, I think that will fucking do it for this episode. Fucking, we'll destroy it again next time, I guess.
Yeah, we'll shove it directly into your ear hole.
Baby's hair with a woman's eyes.
I really
I can
apologize
see
for this
her
ending. We
watching
really
in
just
the light.
fucking ruined it.
I don't know what he's doing. I don't know.
All along with me.
What is this?
I don't even know what song this is.
Sunrise.
Wait, is this music? Is this what this is? The sound is supposed to be music?
All right, this was our worst ending. So enjoy that. Shove that down your face.
Yeah. Good luck.
All right.
Good luck dealing with that.
Peace out.